Thanks everyone for being here. Jeremy should be here in just a minute or so. Let me find out where he's at.
Jeremy make it on yet?
Haven't heard from him yet.
Okay.
Try. He should be any second.
Yeah. I went back to the old link. Something happened with the link that he sent earlier today that just didn't make it work.
Hey Nick, can you change your name? Everybody knows who you are.
Yeah, what would you like to call me?
Thanks.
Frank?
I don't know.
Timmy?
Steve's buddy.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, this is recorded. Probably shouldn't say that.
We'll crop that out before it goes on YouTube.
Yeah.
Look at that, Carson Pagel, all the way from Lake Forest.
How's it going, Randy?
It's going well.
Oh, I forgot we had him in that scrimmage. I wish I would have remembered that.
And we could have flagged him a little bit harder.
Probably.
You guys left a little too soon before I could catch up to you.
Yeah.
That's how you do it, Carson, when you're experienced. You get out of there.
Yeah,
You
I
hit-
saw you guys in the parking lot by the tennis courts as we left, though.
Lane Windorf's here. Nice to see you, Lane.
I'm here. I got a question.
We might have an answer.
We haven't even
Uh,
started yet, Lane.
Do I need to redo all of the USA lacrosse courses online if I did them last year or no?
If you did the courses, I don't believe you have to, but you will have to take the test again, obviously, or any
Alright.
update.
There's Jeremy.
In fact, there's a couple people, Jeremy, apparently they're trying to hit the same link that we tried to, and so the link that Nick sent back out, I think we have to send back to all the people again.
Yeah, let me just send this link real quick. The same one that Nick sent us.
Yep.
Nick sent you? There's a different link than what I sent in the emails?
Who just sent me? Nick, didn't you send that?
Yeah, so Randy and Jeremy were having some trouble getting on, Don, so I just went into Zoom and sent them the link. I don't know if that's different from what was sent.
Let me
Oh, it
blast
should be
this
this.
out, everyone.
Should be the same thing because there were 25 people here, so it's weird that it wasn't working.
Yeah.
Yeah, my vote is on user error, but we won't say that. Wait.
Old people in technology. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, it's amazing how I have to change some of these assignments.
Ah, Cedarburg West Bend, baby. Give me all of them.
Let's see. I am resending this to everybody, so hopefully everyone on that list from this morning.
Because I think I went back to the one that you sent out yesterday.
Yeah.
So
I tried to use the same link I just sent out to everybody to make sure it worked, and it didn't. So, I think that is a what is it? Millennial issue. Okay. Super. So out of the 107 hopeful people, we can get this show rolling. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Great. Okay, so we'll give everyone a minute or two, and then we will start this show. All right, let me share my screen. We only have 27 people. Ugh.
You're the host now, Jeremy.
Oh, thanks, Don. Fantastic. So exciting. Let's see.
Jeremy, this is
Yep.
I are on the same account right now. That's okay, right?
I'm sorry?
Yeah, that's
For
fine, Jim. Yeah, I got you for attendance. You guys are good.
both of us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And
And
there
I'm
oh, let's not do that.
I'm sending messages on here to a few of you who I don't have information for. So if you can, if a message pops up, please respond to me.
Okay. Let's make sure this won't pop. There we go. Great. So we'll give Randy, how many people do we have right now on?
There's 29 of us total,
Ish. Okay.
like
Well, it's
25
recorded. Great.
youth.
Great. Since it's recorded, I think we can get this seamless show on the road. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jeremy Sullivan. I'm one of the trainers today for today's classroom session 1, the first of 2 classroom sessions of which you will be attending, hopefully online, but also you can watch the trainings virtually, and hopefully you go back to them as well. We're joined by Mr. Randy Cohn, Milwaukee area Hall of Famer. In my
Watch it.
book, in my book, he is the assigner for the Milwaukee area. I am the assigner for the Madison area, and Nick Bonafilia is the assigner for the Bay Valley slash rest of Wisconsin, essentially. It is extraordinarily important that everybody understands that your local assigners, where you live, are the ones who will be giving you game assignments. Okay. We are training you to be USA Lacrosse officials. We are not training you to be Madison officials, Milwaukee officials, or Bay Valley officials. Okay. The local associations, Madison, Milwaukee, and the rest of the state, they may play by association or area specific rules. That's a-okay. You'll learn all about that at your field training. Okay. But for today, we are training you to become USA Lacrosse officials. Once you become certified, you can officiate anywhere in this state and pretty much anywhere across the country. Okay. So again, my name is Jeremy, Madison assigner. Randy, why don't you introduce yourself to the masses?
Sure. I'm Randy Cohn. I am the Milwaukee area assigner. Excuse me. Trainer, just like Jeremy. He said it perfectly. We're going to train you to be USA Lacrosse certified officials. That means you can officiate anywhere in the country. And as Jeremy was alluding to specific areas, there's going to be some things that are going to be specific to Madison, Milwaukee, or Bay Valley that are different from what you would consider your home area. Just make sure as the official, you know what you're walking into, how you're going to call certain things. Somebody on this call is going to be Jeremy's replacement, my replacement, and Nick's replacement. So take what you learn and apply it and become that person eventually someday. The better you become as an official, I guarantee you will make a lot of money as your career goes on. We used to have guys who are now in their real world career who used to make anywhere between $4,500 and $6,500 a summer doing the tournaments to fund their college days, if you will. But you have to earn it. You're not just given the tournament assignments. So the more you put into it, I guarantee you're going to get more and a half back from there. So I'll leave it at that.
Great, very well said. And I think, Randy, how many years have you been doing the assigning though in Milwaukee?
I think it's 12 now.
Yeah. So gosh, I think I've been doing it for about 10 years in Madison, and Randy's goal and my goal and Nick's, who we'll introduce in a second, our goal is to make this experience as enjoyable as you want, but you'll get out what you what you put in essentially. So if you don't turn back assignments, we'll talk about that. If you're able to travel, you will get onto the tournament scene. You will be able to make that extended money. Excuse me, but first year officials, you will not get the same number of games most likely as the experienced guys, because Randy, Nick, and I do our best to put new officials in a position to succeed, and that includes officiating with experienced partners at least the first 2 or 3 weeks. So you got to be patient too and keep studying the rule book. Nick, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. Nick Bonfilia out of Green Bay, Wisconsin. So I do the assigning for all of the lacrosse activities. They pretty much take north of Oshkosh or Fond du Lac, depending on how you think about it. So I don't know Randy's background or Jeremy's background, but I can tell you, I started refereeing when I was y'all's age. I've been refereeing since before I've been driving a car. And one of the reasons why I've stuck with it for as long as I have is A, to Randy's point, it's great money. B, it's great fun, right? It's given me a group of friends, a social network everywhere I've moved all over the country since I've been 15, right? So that's really, really special. But it is a job, right? It's not we just go out there and you know we do have a great time, but we're not clowning around, right? So to Randy's point, Jeremy's point, we got to take it seriously. We get out what we put in, and as long as we take it seriously, we're going to have a great time. We're going to make some money, and we're going to stay in shape while we're doing it. So looking forward to seeing y'all on a field, and I know we're going to have a lot of fun this year.
Thanks a lot, Nick. All right, so I think the next big thing is for everyone, one at a time. When I say your name, please introduce yourself, where you're from, and if you're in high school, what high school you go to, and what year you are. If you're an adult, you can just say you're an adult and in what area. Okay. This isn't a test, but it kind of is. So, Wade Rui, could you start?
Yep. Wade Rui, I've been repping for like 3 years out of the Madison area, and my son plays college lacrosse.
Thanks, Wade. Parker Hunt.
Um, my name's Parker. I'm a junior for 2 years.
Where you from, Parker?
Homestead, Milwaukee.
Okay, great. So you're with Randy Parker, okay?
Sounds good.
Let's see. Xavier Gengler.
Xavier Gangler, first year, Franklin, Wisconsin.
Okay, so you're with Randy too, Xavier, okay?
Okay.
Let's go with Michael Wrench.
Hey, how's it going, guys? My name is Michael Wrench. I'm an adult out of Franklin. I'll be with Randy. This is my 3rd year.
Fantastic. Owen Wrench.
I'm Owen Wrench. This is my 3rd year reffing. I'm out of Franklin, and I'm also with Randy.
Perfect. Hayden Holland.
Hi, my name is Hayden Holland. I'm from in West Dallas, in Milwaukee. I ref for a long time back in high school and stuff, but I'm an adult now. Yeah.
Great. So you're with Randy, Hayden. Great to have you back.
Cool.
Grayson Schmitz.
Grayson, I go to Kettle Moraine High School, and I believe I'm with Randy.
Yes, you are. I believe correctly, Grayson. Mason Lyman.
My name's Mason. I go to Waukesha North in 2nd year.
Great. So you're with Randy too, Mason. Brett Maher.
My name's Harrison. I'm a junior. This is my 2nd year reffing from Franklin.
Okay. Harrison Maher. I take it.
It's Maher.
It's spelled the same. So you're with Randy, buddy. As long as it must be your parents' phone. Alejandro's iPhone.
What's up? I'm Alejandro Brooks. I'm from the Milwaukee area. I'm at Homestead. This is my 4th year reffing, and I'll be with Randy.
Perfect.
I'm just shocked that Alejandro is actually on the line here, and I didn't have to go to his brother to get him going there.
How about Anderson and Griffin C?
My name's Anderson, and I'm a junior at Middleton. This will be my first year roughing.
I'm Griffin. I'm a freshman at Middleton. This is also my first year.
Okay, Griffin, you can reach out to me. Anderson, both you guys have to reach out to me, okay?
Cool.
Yes, I am. Bennett West.
Hey, Jeremy.
Hi, Bennett.
My name's Bennett. I'm from the Madison area. I've been an adult. I've been officiating for 3 or 4 years.
Great to have you back, Bennett.
Glad to be back.
I don't want to say anything, but Bennett is probably my favorite official because Bennett is very cool and collected, which is a good demeanor to have as an official. We'll talk about that later too.
And Jeremy's my favorite assigner.
Nice try kissing my ass, Bennett. You're still driving. Asher Grady.
Yeah.
Yeah, what?
Oh, I'm here.
Oh, thanks for paying attention, Asher. Where are you from and what high school do you go to?
I'm from Verona and I go to Verona Area High School.
Oh, okay. Asher, you're with me, okay?
Okay.
What's my name?
Jeremy.
Oh, perfect. Great. Okay. All right. Bryson Calloway. I know that name.
I'm Bryson Calloway. I go to DeForest. This will be my first year reffing, and I'm with you, Jeremy.
Yep, you got it, buddy. Carson Pagel, have you gone yet?
Hello, I'm a sophomore at Lake Forest College, and I'll be back for the tail end of the season. I'm with Randy.
You're with Randy, okay.
My 5th year reffing.
Super. All right, Carson. Let's see. Cooper Blodgett.
Hey, I'm Cooper Blodgett. I go to Verona. This is going to be my first year refereeing, and I'm with you, Jeremy.
Perfect. Great to have you. Dan Mullen.
Hey, I'm Dan Mullen. I'm an adult. I'm out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and it sounds like I'll be with Randy. It's my first year.
Great to have you, Dan. Eli. Drangstavit.
Hi, my name is Eli. I go to Wanakee and I'll be with Jeremy.
All right. Great. Gabe.
Hey y'all, I'm Gabriel O'Neill. I'm living in the Madison area and I'll be with Jeremy.
Great to have you, Gabe.
Good to be here.
All right. It looks like, let's see, Henry Rothering.
I'm Henry. I go to Oregon High School. This will be my 2nd year reffing, and Jeremy, I'm with you.
Great. Isaac Schultz.
I'm Isaac. I go to Wanakee. This is my 2nd year, and I'm with Jeremy.
Great. Jackson Binley.
My name is Jackson. I go to Sun Prairie, and this will be my 1st year reffing, and I'm with Jeremy.
Great. Jim and Cooper Carides.
My name's Cooper. I'm a senior at Elkhorn. This is my 1st year reffing, and I'm in the Milwaukee area.
Perfect. You're with Randy, buddy. Karsten Schmitz. Did you go already? No.
Did you want Jim Credis as well, by the way?
Oh, yeah, if you're both on.
Yeah, Jim Credis, adult, first year Milwaukee. I'm with Randy.
Perfect. Great to have you. All right.
I'm Karsten. I go to Kettle Moraine. This is my 3rd year reffing, and I'm with Randy.
Perfect. Great to have you, buddy. Colton O'Neill.
I'm Colton. I go to Waukesha, and I'm with Randy. This is my 1st year reffing.
Great. Luke Morgan.
I'm Luke. I go to Sun Prairie. It's my 1st year reffing, so I'll be with you, Jeremy.
Perfect. Okay, has anybody not introduced themselves yet? Parker Sauer, I see you hiding down there. Go ahead.
I haven't gone yet. I'm Bodie. I go to Wanakee High School. This is my first year refing, and I'll be with you.
Perfect. Thanks, Bodie.
Yep.
Parker Sauer.
We can
Parker,
see Parker. Let's go. He'd be with me. He's at KM.
Yeah, I know that name.
I haven't gone yet either. My name's Tommy Stoll. I go to Kettle Moraine, and it's my third year refing.
Okay, great, Parker. Are there any other of you or your brothers coming through?
Yeah, I also haven't done it. My name is Lane Wendorf. I go to Oconomowoc, and I'll be with Randy.
Great. Ronan Daly.
I'm Ronan. I'm a senior at Ocon, my first year roughing, and I'll be with Randy.
Perfect. Thomas Stoll.
Yeah, I'm Tommy Stoll. This is my third year refing. I go to Kettle Moraine.
Perfect. Okay, anybody
Parker,
else not into? Yep,
Parker
go ahead.
Sauer said it won't let him talk. I don't think.
It's okay. We don't want to hear him anyway.
Ooh.
Just give me a.
I haven't gone yet. I'm Gabe Weisenfeld from Verona, and I'll be with Jeremy.
Perfect, Gabe. Great to have you. Anybody else?
Yeah, I have it. My name's Will. I go to Sun Prairie East. It's my first year ref, and I'll be with Jeremy.
William Nelson, you're with me. Good to have you on board. Okay. Is that it?
I'm Noah. I go to Kimberly. I'm a first year ref, and I'll be with Nick.
Great. Perfect.
My
Okay.
buddy Mason, he didn't have the link, so I just sent it to him. He has to join on his laptop. He'll be here soon, but he's joining.
Okay. So good to hear. So everyone, I just want to reiterate that part of this training you can watch. It will be recorded. Okay. So I think you should consider using the recording once we start getting in the rules as also, like a refresher. But it's not the only training you're going to need. 8 hours of classroom training and a field training to be a very effective official. Okay. You're going to have to study the rules. You're going to have to study the rule book. You're going to have to do all those little things that will, help you get the confidence to be a good official and also to help you become an official that the assigners can be confident that we can give you 4 or 5 games in a row. That's about $210, $220, depending on where you're at, on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon. Okay. So this training should not be the only training you're going to be doing. I mean, to get USA Lacrosse certified, so we'll see in the next step. Okay. Active USA Lacrosse member, 8 hours of virtual instruction. Complete the virtual instruction material for the USA Lacrosse that they recommend or that they require, and also the boys online exam. We'll go over all this stuff next session. Attend an on-field training session, and then WILOA fees. If you just do 2 through 5, you'll be an okay official, but your confidence level is directly proportional to the amount of time you invest in becoming a good official. Okay. So it's really all on you. It's not on the assigners. It's not on your parents. It's on you to become the best official you can be, which means you'll get more games, which means you'll make more money. Okay. And officiating will be a lot more fun than it is stressful. Okay. Randy, you have anything to add?
No, you're dead solid on that one. It's the more you put in, the more you're going to get back out. We'll let Don talk about number 6. Is he still on?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, yeah.
So my name's Don Rohr. I'm in the Milwaukee area. I'm the treasurer for WILOA, and I'm the one who's been sending you guys emails. If I messaged you, please send me your email address. There's like 8 of you that I don't have information for, so it's great that you guys are here. The WILOA dues are $25 for youth, so high school or college students who are on this call. Adults, it's $50. If any of you guys have an issue with paying that, just send me an email. For uniforms, I sent information on uniforms also, and I also sent a link on for guys who need uniforms. We have a package set up with a company in New Jersey called All Sports, where they'll get you a starter kit of a jersey, some flags, a whistle, um, that basic stuff, and that's $50. So between your dues and that, basically $75. And like Jeremy said, you can make, a couple $100 easily in a weekend. So if you give it a shot for one weekend, you're going to get your money back there. The fees go, the WILOA fees go towards paying for stuff like Zoom, our email or our webmail website system, all that stuff. We try and give the trainers a little stipend once in a while for their time on the Zoom calls and also putting in the field training. And then we do some other stuff with evaluations and stuff like that to pay people to evaluate you guys. Like Randy and Jeremy said, you can make a lot of money doing this. I don't want to say how much money I make a year, but because I don't want the government to know. But it's a significant amount of money that you can make doing this if you put in the time and effort and really enjoy it. So if anyone has any questions, reach out and please shoot me your email address if I've messaged you guys, like Gabe O'Neill, Eli Cooper, Colton O'Neill, a few of you guys. So thank you.
Thanks, Don.
Thanks, Don.
And just so everybody knows that and Don did do the legwork to set that up with that company in New Jersey. It's the same one that we use in WILOA, which is for the collegiate officials. They have top-notch stuff. So we're not making money on it. It's just a good place for everybody to go and get their stuff.
Perfect. So again, to reiterate, to become certified to officiate USA Lacrosse games, active USA Lacrosse member, okay? We will go over how to access everything through your USA Lacrosse portal next weekend, but you have to get that membership taken care of. This is really important, guys. If you're a high school kid and your parents set your membership up, you're only registered as a player, okay? You have to be registered in addition to a player as an official. So you also need to get official in your registration for USA Lacrosse. I have found, and I'll let Randy chime in, the easiest way to do this is to actually call USA Lacrosse during their business hours, and they can put you in immediately. If you try to use their helpline or you try to use their AI assistant, it's 50-50 chance. So sometimes it's better to just call them or have your parents call them, get you added as an official. And you have to make sure if you have a family membership, that your individual email that's registered with USA Lacrosse is the one you're using to log in and to access those tests. Randy, Nick, do you have anything to add on that? I know that's a point of contention every year.
Yeah, it is. And Jeremy is telling you what you really need to know on that, because that email that you use to, number one, he's correct. It's easier to call USA Lacrosse and get official added to your membership versus trying to do all the other things. But whatever email that you are registered with in USA Lacrosse is the same one you have to use in Arbiter, because they cross-reference each other. And it's paramount that you do that. Otherwise, Jeremy, Nick, and I won't be able to put you into the system as a member of good standing. So make sure that whatever email you use there is the same one that we're going to use in Arbiter.
Very important. So high school guys, get that straightened away this week. You have to have that straightened away this week, because next week when we go into USA Lacrosse website and show you what the different trainings, online trainings, and the tests that you have to access, if you don't have that login, if you don't have your membership associated with being an official, you will not have access to that information. Okay.
Correct. The only other thing I'd add, Jeremy, is just to stress that you are responsible for making sure that you have access to all the electronic platforms. If that means reaching out through the customer services, the helplines, that is your responsibility. the assigners on this call have way too many folks, way too many games, way too many officials to be logging into Arbiter and sending you your schedule for you. So get a head start on that now if we think there's going to be any issues.
Good point, Nick.
Perfect.
Hey, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Mason Williams and Jackson Binley just logged on if you want to get their info.
Perfect. Mason, I see you sent me you sent me an email. Are you still having connection issues? You're good though, Mason?
Yep, I'm good.
Mason, just introduce yourself, what high school you're at or what college you're at, and we'll tell you who your assigner is.
I'm at Mount Horeb High School.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're with me then, Mason. Perfect. Jackson?
I'm from Sun Prairie. I'm a junior and it's my first year.
Great. You're with me too. Anybody else just join
We
in the
Yeah, we had one other person just join.
Oh, I think you're muted there, Colin. Colin, if you're talking, I think you're muted.
I am muted. Sorry. I'm a dope. Anyways, I was a father of a player for the past 4 years, and he really enjoyed it a lot. I also broadcast the games for Bayport Lacrosse for the past 3 years, I think, on YouTube. So I'm pretty familiar with the game. I know some of you guys out there probably know some of the players out there too, because we kind of played a bunch of everybody. So glad to be here.
Welcome
Great,
aboard.
Colin. Great to have you. Oh, sorry, Randy.
I was say welcome aboard. Believe it or not, we get most of our high school officials from dads who have aged out, right? They've gone through the whole thing with their kids and they still want to be involved and say, what do I do? Become an official. So that's how I got started back in the day. So
Perfect. Great to have you, Colin. So again, these are the steps to get certified to do USA Lacrosse games anywhere in the state and also in the country. But to officiate outside Wisconsin and to officiate in tournaments, you really have to have a good record of accepting games, doing a great job, and showing you're competent and confident. That's the way you get the summer tournaments. And as Randy can tell you, those if you're willing to invest in those can be a huge financial windfall.
yep, it's like I said, like we said earlier, what you put in,
Yeah,
you get recognized, and those tournament guys are like, hey, I need this guy.
right. Perfect. So Nick brought or Don brought this up a little bit, but there are equipment requirements to officiate boys youth lacrosse. At the bare minimum, at the very bare minimum, you have to have 1-inch collared stripe official shirt. Okay. This is not a wrestling or basketball shirt. It's got to have a collar. Okay. And also, it should have a chest pocket, which comes in really handy when you're for your scorecard and your penalty tracking cards. Okay. So 1-inch collared striped official shirts. Again, bare minimum, any black pair of shorts. Just make sure you never have team names or logos of any kind on any of your officiating equipment. Shorts, socks, shoes. Do not, under any circumstance, have your, Wanakee or Bayport or whatever team you go through, even if you have all black pair of shorts, do not have any logos. Lacrosse officiating is about you training as hard as you can so you're confident in the rules and then you're able to handle a game. That confidence then has the coaches and the players and the spectators. They then feel that confidence and they're confident in your ability. Okay. If you come out you could be the best official in the world. Okay. You can be Randy Cohn. You can be Dave Wallin, the best officials in the world. You can come out and have the most knowledge ever. And if you come out wearing a logo of a team that might possibly be associated with one of the teams you're playing with, it's over. The fans will not have confidence in you. The players will not have confidence in you. You don't want to have that. So what we ask, no team names, logos on anything you wear to the field or from the field. Okay. Randy, you have anything to add?
No, thanks for the commingling there. No, Jeremy's definitely right. All of your goodness, if you will, disappears if you walk in with a team thing, on any of your equipment. You could be the best official in the world, but if you walk in with, as you said, Wanakee, or if I would wear, Arrowhead or something like that, you literally just kind of put yourself down a notch, because everything you do from there on is going to be suspect. You don't want to be that guy with suspect. We're talking about the 1-inch collared stripe jersey or shirt. I can't tell you how many times guys have showed up with basketball shirt without a collar, no pocket. You need a 1-inch collared, and I mean collared, striped official shirt. Get a short sleeve shirt. In the state of Wisconsin, you only get to wear it for one day in the season anyway. But none of us are too big on the fact, if you want to wear a long sleeve black shirt underneath your short sleeved striped shirt, go right ahead. Because when you get to the summer tournaments, if you're going to be doing them, you're going to be wearing the 1-inch collared striped shirt. So very rarely in the state of Wisconsin do you really get to wear a long sleeve shirt, unless you're working with me and it's under 80 degrees. But that's a joke for you when you get longer into your career.
It's not a joke.
It's but do it that way. And in the one coin that Jeremy's referencing here, it's at least be a $50 or bigger. I mean, please don't show up with a dime, because it'll get lost if you let it go to the ground. And the Fox 40 whistle. I can't tell you guys how important that is. A Fox 40 whistle, not a Fox 40 Sonic, not anything else. I mean, they got a whole bunch of different names. Fox 40 is what you want. That is the whistle that will make you command the field. So,
Yep. And first year officials and high school guys, you do not have to buy all black shoes. It'd be great if you had them, but don't worry about it. Whatever athletic shoes you wear are fine. Just make sure they don't have logos on them, please. And obviously they have to be, I can't believe I have to say this, but this did happen. You have to wear shoes. That's a requirement to officiate lacrosse from USA Lacrosse, and common sense. Do not just wear shoes, okay? Athletic shoes, please. At least one yellow penalty flag. If you are buying your kit, all your stuff that you need to officiate, please order two. It's so much easier. But you have to have at least one yellow flag. Colin, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. Places you can recommend to look for some of this stuff?
Yeah, so Don will share via email like a online kit order. Like it will have everything you need, like a starter kit. But I tend to go to Honig's. There's also like a Smitty kind of outlet you can buy stuff, and we'll send you some of these links. But even if you go to like there's a place called Epic Sports, they tend to sell like 1-inch collared shirts on like wholesale for like $11 or $12, and you can buy penalty flags there too. But it's really like you have to catch them at the right time. They usually sell out pretty quick. So we'll send a bunch of links out this coming week with places you can pick up a kit, all your officiating stuff. And then the link Don has, it's like a all-in-one. I think it's like 100 and
It's $50 for a shirt, 2 flags, and a whistle.
You can't beat that. That's pretty
oh,
good.
no, that is pretty good.
Yeah.
And that's through an online retailer in New Jersey.
Sure. Now, the one thing we don't have on here, Jeremy, And I'm counting on the fact that everybody who's on this call can count to 20 if they have to. As you progress, and let's say you don't necessarily have to have it your first year, but definitely in your second year, you want to have a 20, 100, a 20 and 100-second timer for the 20-second advancement and the timeouts. There's a whole slew of them out there. I prefer the Ready Ref. I think that's actually their website, readyref.com. Isn't that what it is, Don? And they have two different models. They have one that makes noise, and they have one that just vibrates, because you have it belted. Actually, this is what Jeremy was getting to on the black pants. You really want to wear shorts that require a belt, because you're going to have to belt your timer into that eventually. I suggest you get one that's silent, that only you know when it goes off, because if it goes off and you don't hit the other team for let's say a failure to advance, you have a coach in your ear right now. How come you didn't call it? So the less noise you make out on the field, the better your game will be.
Yeah.
But first year guys, I wouldn't run out there right away and get a timer unless you really want to do it. I mean, there's no one telling you can't. It's just I'm just assuming you can count to 20, and because you're going to be literally in the officiating world of lacrosse, you are counting every second of the game, something. So
right,
and we'll get into that as we go further on.
Yes, a lot of counting. So again, this is like Randy said, the bare minimum. If you want to wear a hat, you have to have an official hat, which is a white piping 1/8 inch hat. These are available everywhere. If you have the black hat with white piping for football officiating, I believe it's the same exact one. Is that right, Randy?
Yeah, I believe.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's totally fine. If you don't have the proper official's hat, though, do not wear a hat. Unless it's the winter, which is mostly in Wisconsin, early season. If it's really cold, you can wear an all black knit hat. Okay, if you're in my area, that's totally fine. Make sure no logos and nothing else on it. In the summer, you're either wearing the official's hat, piped hat, or you're not wearing a hat at all. Sunglasses are obviously totally fine. Just don't Kenny Powers it up. Okay, just make sure that you're wearing black sunglasses, or at least something that doesn't draw attention from players, fans, and coaches. All right. So that will be it for the first slideshow. Let's go into professionalism and game management. Okay, so this is the first of our forays into the USA Lacrosse official website and training curriculum. Okay, so it's really, really, really important that we understand these are the rules to get you trained to be a USA Lacrosse official anywhere in the country, theoretically. Okay. Your individual associations, where you live, where you're going to be officiating most, will have will have specific rules. Okay. But none of them will deviate from what we're training you on, the USA Lacrosse rules, very much. There might be a couple little variations of when you can have long stick defenders, which we'll talk about later, or whether or not you're playing 10U at 6-on-6, 7-on-7, what have you. Okay. Those are those idiosyncrasies, those specific parts of these different area league associations will be conveyed during the field training. Okay. So, very important we understand if you are unavailable to train on 4/5/2025 in the Madison area, or 4/5/2025 in the Milwaukee area, right, Randy?
Yep.
Okay. If you are unable to field train on either of those days in the Madison or Milwaukee area, you do have an opportunity, Nick, right, to field train with you in northern Wisconsin. Nick, do you have that date set? Sorry, is it 4/13?
Yeah, we're the 6th of April, and then the fallback on the 13th down here in Milwaukee.
Okay. So, Randy, you're Sunday the 6th.
Yep, Sunday the 6th,
Perfect.
and then on the 13th.
Perfect.
And gentlemen, you are welcome. If you can't make your quote unquote local on field, you are welcome to go to Jeremy's or mine or Nick's to get that on field training. So just remember that it's not like, oh, I got to go here. No, you're going to get the same on field experience. You can go wherever you need to go.
Exactly. But it's really important if you're a Milwaukee guy who comes to the Madison training, or a Madison or northern Wisconsin guy who comes to the Milwaukee training, you have to understand, you have to communicate to your local assigner that you've attended that session. Because if you're a Madison area guy, you don't come to my session, I'm not going to know that you went to Milwaukee. I'm not going to know that you went to northern Wisconsin. So, how do we make sure we do that? You guys have to be really good at communication, and you have to be comfortable calling, texting, emailing your assigners on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. And when I mean bi-weekly, I mean twice a week. Okay. You have to communicate. Randy, Nick, and I cannot chase all of you around begging you to accept games to make you a ton of money and help you develop a skill. When we can't do that, we have too much going on. So the impetus or the responsibility is on you. Okay.
Just to confirm, you should get the Arbiter app, right?
Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah, it'll work.
All right.
Yeah, it will. You can also, I mean, it's great to use the Arbiter app. You can also just use the desktop version. And Lane brings up or Wendorf brings up a good point, which we cover in the next session, which is the assigning software that we all have to be very familiar with, called Arbiter. Arbiter. Okay, so the first segment of USA Lacrosse specific required training we're going to cover is professionalism and game management. Okay, so the main thing about professionalism, USA Lacrosse is a huge fan of acronyms and consonantation. So there's 5 P's. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. Okay. We want to make sure that you, even as high school students, are as professional as your adult colleagues. Okay. Once you get on the field, if you haven't already, you'll understand that there's a lot of moving parts at any one time. We are training you to focus on the parts that, as one partner of an officiating crew, you are responsible for, and training to make sure that your other partner is responsible for what they should be paying attention to. So, what does that mean? You work as a team. You work as a team. And the best way to do that is to have 2 properly trained people who understand what their responsibility in this partnering, in this officiating partnership is towards the field. What part of the field they're supposed to be watching, what part of the field their partner official is supposed to be watching. That's what we need to train you to, because at the end of the day, the goal of your officiating these rec league lacrosse games is to keep them safe. Number 1, fair. Number 2, okay? Safety of the players is your paramount goal in officiating youth lacrosse. Making it fair is your second goal. Okay. So once you start to see everything, you're going to feel a little bit overwhelmed. But the more you study, the more you know the rules, the more you're prepared, the easier it is for you to overcome that. Okay. And that's why Randy, Nick, and I always try to assign new officials with an experienced partner to help them understand, to help them see what the experienced officials seeing on the field or what they're looking for, because both officials are not watching the ball at the same time. Okay. As officiating pair, you're watching different parts of the field. That's the only way officiating works. Okay. Very important to understand officials, okay, sometimes coined the third team on the field, are completely unbiased. What does that mean? That means that you're not looking for calls versus one team. You're not showing any bias or favoritism for any one school. And that can be difficult, especially when you are officiating a youth team that you used to play for. Okay. Every year there's, we run into issues where, kids who officiate the team they used to play for, the youth organization they used to play for, parents would be like, oh, I remember this kid, he played 2 years ago for this club. He gave this club all the calls, right? Consciously, that's probably not happening. Okay. But we're training you to look for certain things, to call the game a certain way, and that's the way you get rid of bias. Okay. I don't believe any of you would stoop to the level of making calls that would support your old club. And frankly, I don't think that that ever happens. Okay. We train you to look for the calls and be unbiased. Randy, you got anything?
No, you're right on there. You don't want to have any perceived bias of it. When I take the field with any official, regardless of where they're from, and Jeremy, you'd probably be the same way. I never want to assign somebody to where they've come from, let's say whether it's youth or high school or whatever, for at least 2 years after they've been gone. So it kind of gives that separation. Um, but then again, I've never suspected any official that I've taken a field with of calling a game lopsided in one way or the other. You're paid to be a professional, so just do a professional job.
Exactly. Nick, you got anything?
Nothing to add.
Great. So, wait. Part of the professionalism is appearance. You do not have to wear a shirt and tie to your games, but please make sure that you're not walking to the field. Like as soon as you get out of your car, if you're changing it to field, do it out of the way, right? Make sure that your shirt's tucked in. Make sure that you're not like kicking around in sandals. You change into your shoes or walking barefoot to the field. Make sure that you're showing as much professionalism as you can. You absolutely do not need to dress up to go to the field. That's more like a high school or college thing. Okay. But you're setting the tone. You're setting a professional tone by dressing professionally, not being sloppy, and handling yourself well. Remember, as soon as you get out of your car, start to walk to the field till the game's over and you walk back to your car, you are setting that professional tone. Okay. Other things that you want to make sure that you make sure your bag is ready to go. Like you don't have to run back to your car because you forgot your flags. You want to do everything you can pregame to make sure you're setting that professional tone. We talked about the uniform. This guy looks a little constipated. But for the most part, black shorts, belt, as Randy said, flags in that waistband, hat, piping or no hat. Okay, everyone's looking the part. The best way that you can show professionalism is to make sure that you and your partner both have the proper uniform. Okay, we talked about that in depth. This really isn't germane to youth officiating as much, But if it's really cold in the Madison area, you can wear a black jacket or a jacket while you officiate. Just make sure that you clear that with the coach ahead of time. Okay. And again, if you have to wear a knit hat, just make sure it's all black, no logos.
Yeah, guys, you want to match your partner when you take to the field. So if one guy shows up, make sure you talk to your partner before you get to the field that day. Whoever is listed first is either referee one or the referee. That's who determines what you're going to wear on the field. So make sure you communicate before you show up on the field. So one guy's not in shorts and short sleeves, and one guy's dressed properly with long pants and long sleeves. And because you really look goofy if you're not wearing the same stuff.
Exactly. Does it matter that you're setting a tone, professional appearance? It does. And this is from experience, like Randy and I talked about. We don't have to get back into this, but you want to convey that confidence. And the best way to do that is to, number one, know that rule book, know the rules of the game, get games under your belt, do as many games as we could possibly send you, and then dress the part. Okay. That will send the players, coaches, and fans confidence in you through the roof.
Yeah. Jeremy, this is a fantastic slide. Thank God we don't have to wear white shorts anymore. But that guy is dressed properly for the time and when we had to. But the upper right-hand corner, hey, I just got out of, got done working here. So I grabbed an Under Armour hat and some shorts and some shoes. And then the guy on the bottom there, I got white socks and, the shoes that I wore when I, mowed my lawn. That's what Jeremy's talking about. If you don't look the part, you're not going to be respected for the part.
Exactly. Pleated white shorts, not a good look on anyone, by the way.
Well, that was the old way.
Yeah.
I mean, and thank God we don't have to do that anymore. But
yeah, that was the worst. Not applicable to most of you, but just do your best that once the game's over, go to your car, get out of town, get back home. Just don't wear your officiating uniform screwing around after the game. You want to make sure that, and what I mean by that is, like, let's say you're going to stay and watch the game, go to your car, take your kit off, wear whatever else you have, sit in the stands. Just don't sit around wearing your uniform, because people are going to ask you questions, or people are going to bring up maybe a call that they disagreed with. Just don't. Conditioning, most of you are conditioned, so we're not too worried about that. But if you're sucking air running up the field, you might not be able to focus on the action of the game. The goal is to keep up with play, and also that allows you to be in the correct position once we go to field training to make the right call, right? If you're 30 yards down the field trying to catch up to the action, you're going to miss everything that's happening in front of you. Okay. It also helps you minimize some injury. So it's not a big concern. Even if you're out of shape, you can get in shape during the season. Typically in a youth game, you'll run about 2 to 3 miles. High school games, 3 to 4. College games, 5 to 7. From what I've seen, maybe 1 mile in the college games. Speed, you're not gonna, the goal is to be able to keep up with game action. There's not like a foot race to determine who can officiate based on how fast they can do ladders or 50s. But you just want to make sure you're able to handle the physical requirements. So this is a video from USA Lacrosse. You can see quick action. The officials back here doing his best. That's all you can expect. You're not going to beat a kid running full speed down the field, but it's hustling, right? You can see, we'll watch this again. This official does not stop hustling. He's always running. He's not walking, doing his best. His head's up, his running as fast as he can, but he's doing it in a way that's not labored where he can't keep up with the action. Okay. That's what we ask. And that's the main thing. If you're exhibiting hustle and you're not the fastest person, people will take notice of it and they will appreciate it. If you're walking, people will notice that too. And that's not a good look. Officials should never be walking on the field. Okay. Never be walking on the field. Yeah. These are really some self-reflection things where you want to make sure that you're working as hard as you can. Okay. Some wolves chasing some buffalo. I mean, I'm always on the side of the buffalo, but you always want to make sure that you're giving it your best.
Yeah. Jeremy, one of the things that our college assigner here says, if you're walking, you should be jogging. If you're jogging, you should be running. And if you're running, you should be sprinting. And the reason he says it that way is because you've already committed to not being actually in the proper position. When you think about it, guys, short of a fast break, if you have to sprint to get to be where you got to be, you were already out of position.
Exactly.
So you should be anticipating what's and a lot of it is Jeremy's talking about. A lot of it is anticipation of the play.
Yep.
What is happening? What should you be doing? Should you be moving back? Should you be moving forward? Which one is it? And as players, you probably know what you're supposed to do, but now as an official, you have to think that through. What happens if the ball goes here? Where should I be? Should I be back? If you're the trail, should you be backing up? Because you may have to go on that sprint to the other end. So, but those are things that come with, as Jeremy alluded to way long ago. I'll tell you, it's easy. It's called practice. It just becomes practice. You learn to know where to be.
Exactly. So always keep in mind the little things matter. Okay. Just like your teachers tell you at school, for those of you in high school, the way you handle yourself, your understanding of the game, your professionalism, that all goes part and parcel or part of a bigger confidence eluding and confidence having way that you officiate. We want you to be confident. We want you to be able to display your officiating skills. We also want you to make sure the best way to protect yourself against criticisms, or any out of control fans or coaches is to know the material, have that experience, and exude that confidence or display that confidence. Okay. But most importantly to Randy, Nick, and I, you gotta be on time.
Oh God, yes.
You have got to be on time. On time is 30 minutes prior to game time. Okay. 30 minutes. If you show up at 10 minutes before game time, the coaches will have very little confidence in you.
And they've already called us 3 times.
Yeah. You have to understand that that's a big part of professionalism, being on time. Okay? Taking your role seriously, it's a job. Okay? It is a job. Being focused and understanding your role as safety and fairness of play as the authority in both of those things, it's a huge role, and you can do it because we have a track record of high school kids who've done it before you. Okay? So please take it seriously. So that's it so we'll talk about mechanics in session 2, but having good mechanics with your partner on the field, which is essentially the way in which we officiate a game. Okay, it's very important that your mechanics are sound and your education of the material. So study the rule book. Okay. And what Randy and I will do, and Randy, Nick, and I will do is we'll send you out a PDF version of the rule book, the boys youth rule book. I think we could do that. I saw it posted a few places, Randy. So
okay.
I think it's cool. If not, I'll go to copyright jail. I'm sure it's a interesting place. So understand the rules, Ask your assigners questions. Okay. We are always here to answer your questions. And it's good that Nick, Randy, and I are also USA Lacrosse certified trainers. So we know the material. Again, proper mechanics, how we do our job, the correct mechanics allow you to be in the right position. The best way to know those mechanics is to take as many games as you possibly can and work with experienced officials. Okay.
Go back to that picture, Jeremy. There's one thing when you become a college official, actually, even before you have a tryout for your college official, that official, if he was going in for an observation, would be dinged for one thing on this thing because it's a motion picture. His thumb is up. You're not hitchhiking. That thumb is always down, tucked into your hand when you're pointing somewhere. I know it sounds picky-unish, but that is the mechanic. The thumb is down in the hand, pointing the direction you're going to go. And that could make or break your move up in an observation, guys. So just take it for what it is.
Perfect. Thanks, Randy. It's a very good point. And when you work with officials who have a lot of experience, you have to be receptive to taking what they're saying seriously and applying it to your officiating. Okay. So if you're working with Steve Perez, if you're working with Randy Cohn, if you're working with Matt Bach or some of the other more seasoned officials, and they're like, hey, this is what I'm seeing, this is what you need to do, you have to be receptive to that. They know what they're doing. They are trying to help you because they all started in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And, we'll talk about this later, but the way that your high school games are officiated are not the same way to officiate youth lacrosse games. Okay. There's so much more nuance, contact in the high school game than there is in the youth game. A lot of the rules are similar, but the mechanics are the same. Okay. Mechanics transcend youth, boys, high school boys, depending on if it's 2 or 3 man. Okay. So keep that in mind. Mechanics is like math. It's the one thing that can unite all the sciences. Okay. Um, Again, we're gonna have a whole session on mechanics, so I don't want to get too much into it, but moving with the flow of the game, purposeful movements, like when we relay penalty calls, and like Randy says, even the little things like thumb tucked in or the way in which your feet are pointed in certain instances, all that matters. Okay. Proper mechanics also lets us anticipate the play and understand where the ball is going to go, so we can not just react, but we can anticipate. Okay, we want to keep moving but proper mechanics allow us to be in the best position to see everything, and also proper mechanics get us in the habit of running with your head on a swivel. For a lot of us who grew up playing lacrosse and basketball, our coaches always said, put your head on a swivel, put your head on a swivel. If there's a 3 count and you're not moving your head, you're off, right? That's the same principle with lacrosse officiating. You're always moving, you're always anticipating, but you always want to make sure you're in the proper place to make the call. We'll talk about this more in detail, but pre-game, that's why we get there 30 minutes before, so you and your partner can converse about the game, do all the pre-game stuff, which we'll talk about a lot of field training, but that does involve like, talking to your partner, seeing what calls they had questions about from previous games, or getting a point of clarity that maybe you want. Like, hey, did you see, one arm swinging checks, just making sure that those aren't allowed at 12U, right? Like, these are the kind of things that you want to make sure that you are conversing with your partner on pregame. So when it occurs during the game, you're not asynchronous. You're not thinking one thing is a penalty and one thing is not a penalty, right? You want to make sure you're on the same page. Okay. Also during the pregame, again, we'll get into this a lot during field training. You are going to interact with adults who will be doing the bench area and keeping the officials. So they'll be doing the official scores and timekeeping. Okay. So there will be adults who are doing that. You're going to have to talk to them pregame. So you're going to have to get comfortable talking to adults if you're not already. Okay. And this is all part of a field certification that we do that we'll talk about in great detail. But this kind of brings up what Randy, Nick, and I have been harping on a lot is soft skills are important. Your knowledge of lacrosse is absolutely super important. Your knowledge of officiating. But if you're not a personable person and you are unable to communicate well, or you don't have a uh, let's just say you're aggressive or abrasive personality, that will directly affect how your officiating is perceived. Don't let that happen. Be as conciliatory, be as friendly as possible. Don't make enemies at a lacrosse game when you're official. It's not worth it. You're there to officiate the way USA Lacrosse wants you to officiate. If there's ever a problem at one of your games, you never raise your voice, you remain calm, and then you reach out to your assigners after the game in a game report. Let us know how it went. If you have problems, Nick, Randy, or I address them. You don't address them. Okay. You can handle certain things on the field if it's a coach or a player who's disrespectful or out of control. That's what we have penalties that we'll talk about in session 2, conduct penalties, sportsmanlike conduct penalties. But always keep your temper. Never get angry, never raise your voice, be professional. And that communication helps kind of alleviate or decrease any problems during the game with behavior from players, fans, or coaches. Randy, you got anything to add on that?
No, I mean, that's a mouthful, but guys, that is exactly how you become a good official. And the last line on here, don't be afraid to say it's time to move on. If a coach is just in your ear and just say, Coach, we got to move on. Otherwise, I can't keep your players safe. Because if you're engaging with a coach, that means you're not engaging with what's going on the field and something bad's going to happen. And Jeremy's correct. If you're getting the business from a coach or from some fans, let us know as you're an assigner. We'll address it. You don't have to. You're there to officiate a fair and safe game. That's it. Not to be, the local gendarme to make sure that everything is copacetic with the fans and the coaches. Because you will find out as you start officiating that you will know more about the game of lacrosse than the people on the sidelines. Because they don't really know the rules. They think they do, but they don't know the rules. You do, because you've already taken the test and passed it. Because there's things that happen in the course of a game that only you get to decide as an official. And and Jeremy and I have said this for years. Every play has 4 sets of eyes: the coach, the player, the parents, and the official. Only one of those sets of eyes gets to decide what really just happened. And if it's the official, that's what we go with. And if you're an official and you're the bench side and your far side partner calls a foul, you tell that coach, that's a great call, coach. And that's what we're going with. Never throw your partner under the bus.
Yeah, that's a great point, Randy. Thanks for bringing that up again. Your team, I have been on crews or I've seen games where one official's like, that's not my call. I wouldn't have called that. To his partner who is by the goal, the other partner will say to the coach, yeah, that's a bad call. I wouldn't have done that. In a game I was coaching, and I was like, oh my gosh, like that's exactly the wrong kind of communication skills you want to have. Okay. A officiating team, you and your partner are one unit. Okay. You're one unit. You are a team. So if there's a bad call, by your partner, you support that partner, you talk about it like, oh, is this what you saw? Yes, I saw a slash 100%. Okay. You have to trust your partner, relay that call, even if the coaches are on you or whoever's on you, you are a team. You support your partner. Okay. And then this is why pregame is so important. You talk about the calls, you could talk about anything you need cleared up to make sure you're both on the same page, right? Very, very important. And as Randy said, it's fine to tell a coach, hey, it's time to move on. And in Madison, you can certainly say, you know what, if you have any more questions about this rule interpretation or this call, reach out to my assigner and you can give them, they'll have my information. I can guarantee you 95% of the time that coach will not reach out. And that coach won't reach out because they don't know the rules either. Okay. Now, one thing I do want to bring up is that for you high school age kids, we're certifying you as boys youth lacrosse officials. That does not mean that you are a boys high school official. Okay, it's really important you understand that. I specifically said the way we officiate boys youth lacrosse is not the same boys high school lacrosse is officiated. Okay, your high school kids are not boys high school officials. Do not, under any circumstances, reach out to your assigners if you have a questionable call at one of your games and be like, hey, like they blew this call. Or, what I get a lot or used to get was, oh, hey, I have a random hypothetical question of something that could occur in a game. And it's clearly you're trying to describe what happened in one of your games to me to get me to say like it was the wrong call or something. I'm not going to do that. None of us will do that. Okay. Your lacrosse education will be sky high after you become certified. And for boys youth lacrosse, you will be a knowledge source. But for boys high school lacrosse, there are too many nuances. You're not going to be certified to do boys high school lacrosse. So listen to your officials, be respectful of your officials at your games, because now once you become an official, you'll see how difficult it can be. Randy, since you do a lot of high school, you want to chime in? And Nick?
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, it's okay if you want to say, hey, I saw this in my game and this is how it was adjudicated. Can you tell me why it was? Not ask me to turn it over or something. Obviously, we can't. When you become an official, you're actually going to become a much better player because you're learning some of the magician's secrets, if you will, on what we do and do not allow. Um, Plus, if you're a youth official and I'm doing one of your high school games, you sure as heck better not be the guy that I'm flagging for something stupid, because you should know better by then. But it's true, and and if it is an informational question that you want to ask us, please, please, please do. I know Jeremy wasn't trying to scare you guys out of asking questions, um, but don't ask us to overrule a situation that we weren't in or have no film to look at. So, but and he's right. I mean, because I'm hoping that you become officials for the long term. Eventually, you're going to go off to college and you come back and then you kind of do start high school games and hopefully, if you want to do it, you get into a college career and you have a very long college career, in front of you. Because you're going to learn something every game you do. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. I've been doing this long enough. Every game I learn something new. And so, as Jeremy alluded to a little while ago, keep your eyes and your ears open all the time because you are going to pick something up that like, whoa, I didn't know that makes sense. And it's going to make your game better. And then when you learn something, you make sure you share it with those who are behind you. And many years ago, we didn't do that in the officiating ranks. It was like we weren't going to show anybody anything because they might take our games. Now it's like there's so many games, we got to make sure that you guys are prepared to do the thing that you do the best possible way. So that's
Yeah.
all I had, Jeremy.
Perfect. Nick, you have anything to add? You good?
Don, you have anything?
I got nothing.
No.
How do I follow that succinct analysis?
Great. So again, be cool, communication, don't raise your voice, don't get rattled. At the end of the day, do your job. Everything's gonna be fine. Randy, Nick, myself, Don through WILOA, we will support you. If you have a blown call that's related to safety, right? We will meet with you virtually. We'll talk through, see what you saw, figure out if there's just something we need to talk to you about as trainers. If it's a technical foul and a coach calls us to complain that an officiating misinterpretation of a technical foul led to a boys youth lacrosse game loss, uh, then Randy, myself, Nick, we have a different conversation with that coach, right? Safety, paramount, fair play, next in line. Okay. When you're officiating, got to make sure safety is paramount. Okay. We already talked about this. Head coach communication, very important, respectful, succinct. Don't like develop a friendship talking to these coaches, especially Jim Berkman. He's an interesting character. You want to make sure that you're respectful at all times, but don't kind of get into this head game where they're trying to kind of tell you like, oh, this team does this, this, and this, and this, and this. The youth level, you're looking for safety and equality or parity. Assistant coaches, if there are, some at the boys youth level do not have assistant coaches. Okay. Assistant coaches sometimes can be a great asset. Okay. Respectfully, if they ask you a question at a quarter break or a half, it's totally fine. Okay. Be respectful. Assistant coaches can sometimes also kind of help temper the head coach's behavior. Okay. Again, this really is more of a high school thing, but be respectful to everybody and you should get respect back. Okay. That includes the players on the field. Okay. The players on the field, when you're doing the coin toss at the beginning with the captains or you're doing the lineup, the pregame lineup, very important that you are professional, you communicate well. That will help the players have confidence in you and understand that the calls you're making are the correct calls. Okay. So make sure that you're not, spending too much time, but that you're handling yourself professionally. You're open to the questions at the coin toss and the pregame lineup, and that you are not disrespecting them. Okay. And then your expectation when you don't disrespect somebody is that you will be respected in turn.
Yep. And this is a good slide here too, Jeremy. Uh, you want to work with the captains, and then face-off men should be your best friends. I'd like to add it. Goalies should be your best ally because they will make your life easier. If you don't like how poles are playing, you tell the goalie, "Hey, you want to play short for the rest of the day? I need you to have your long poles stop doing this." I guarantee you, the goalie will take care of it for you, and then you don't have to deal with it.
Absolutely. Good point, Randy. Again, these are the soft skills, your communication skills will help keep the game, to a level of getting so much animosity that players, coaches, and fans kind of lose their cool. Okay. Very important. Mistakes, the expectation is not that you don't make mistakes. The expectation is if you make a mistake and we provide you a correction, that you adopt a correction. Okay. Everybody makes mistakes. Okay. Randy, Nick, Don, all of them have made mistakes. I made one. I've made my fair share of mistakes, right? Just be honest. Like, once you field training will show you, like, if you have an inadvertent whistle, Okay. We will show you the steps to do if you accidentally blow your whistle when your whistle shouldn't have blown. You can't just say, oh, keep going, right? You have to own it. Yes, I made that mistake. Here is how we reset the game, reestablish the game flow, right? It happens. The most important part is that, you understand why you made the mistake, you correct that mistake, and you don't make that mistake again. Okay? Totally fine. We touched on this already. Don't throw your partner under the proverbial bus. Support your partner. Don't make it everyone against your partner situation where you start siding with the head coach. Okay. Growth. There is growth. When you're in high school, obviously you can only do youth games. Okay. But after you graduate high school, while you're in college, you can still get certified. Then when you come back into town, in May, you still have 3 weeks of officiating, right? You got to do a good job to be able to get that, to be able to come back and do games. So we want to make sure you're a confident, competent official, right? But then once you're in college and after college, you can start doing, high school games. And then once you put in a lot of times, you can, even establish yourself if you're interested in doing college games and such. So there is growth potential for every single one of you. Okay. It's just that until you're out of high school, the only games you can do are youth games. Okay. More of what we already said. Be receptive to feedback from more experienced officials. Field training is a very good time to be asking a lot of questions. Okay. Okay. So that is the first session of the USA Lacrosse curriculum. It's 1 o'clock now. Randy, what do you think? Should we push on to rules and then take a break, or should we do a break now?
Let's take a break now. We've got everybody, for an hour and a half because sometimes the rules get kind of goofy.
Yeah, sounds good. So let's why don't we take 10 minutes? We'll come back in 10 minutes.
Sounds good.
Thanks, everyone.
Check your messages, please. Send me your emails if I asked you to.
Randy, you on?
I'm here, sir.
This game, field and equipment, personnel and time factors, that has audio. Do we want to play that audio or do you just want us to do it?
I would say play the audio because this way it's coming straight from USAL. And
Okay.
and then we can break it down after the fact if we need to.
Great. Don, if you're on, let me know if the audio is coming through when I play the slides, okay?
Okay.
Okay, super. So, future and returning officials, the next training that we're going to go over, the next USA Lacrosse required training segment will be game, field, and equipment, personal, and timing factors. Oh, wow. Okay. Pretty sure that's personnel that USA Lacrosse conflated. But maybe I'm missing something. So I'll share my screen. You will hear from a USA Lacrosse narrator. Randy, Nick, Don, and I will pop in and stop the video if there's something that needs to clarity or we just need to talk it through a little bit more. Oh, okay. Hold on a second. Okay. Let me share sound. All right. 1 second, friends.
You PhDs are all the same.
Yeah, I get that a lot actually. Okay. Hopefully, here we go.
Congratulations on taking the first step to becoming a lacrosse official. Normally, we would be in a classroom setting, and you would be introduced to your instructor, and you would learn.
Can you turn it up
a little
any
bit about
on your end, Jeremy?
For this virtual
As
training,
high as it
we're
goes,
gonna
is
move
that
on
too
to the
low?
next
Okay. Well, everybody else, make sure you turn the volume
objectives
up.
in this course are to gain an understanding of the basics of a lacrosse game. We want you to know the minimum requirements for teams and players to participate in the game safely, and to learn your responsibilities of an official for facilitating a game. Let's start with Rule 1, the game, field, and equipment. Lacrosse is played by 2 teams of 10 players, which includes a legally equipped goalkeeper. Goals are 6 foot by 6 foot in a standard lacrosse.
Sorry, everyone. Let's try this again.
Well, while we got this pause going on, they did say something there, a legally equipped goalkeeper. Guys, you cannot play a game without a legally equipped goalkeeper, period.
As long as they meet the NOXI standard and have the stamp on the ball. A standard lacrosse field is 110 yards long by 53 1/3 to 60 yards wide. It's shorter than a football field and less wide than a soccer field. If you're on a football field, the end line should go through the middle of the end zones and must be visible, or that's a penalty. The midline is the only line that is 4 inches wide. A line must go through the midfield logo if there is one on the field. And the home team is responsible for making sure that the field is aligned properly. If no midfield line, the home team will lose the first faceoff.
Pause that for a second, Jeremy. And that is true. Okay, to start the game, you have to have a line through the midfield. That's just to start the game. So if they're on a field that they do not have a midfield stripe, make them put tape down unless they want to lose the ball off of it. Okay, we're not really there in youth to punish a team, but if you really want to push the rule, just have them put some tape down just for the first face-off. That's what the rule states. It doesn't have to be there through the whole game.
Perfect. Okay, guys, let me know if there's if there's an issue with the audio or, yeah, I mean, it says it's coming through, but I don't know if that's the truth or not.
Some schools will use a unified field. The purpose of a unified field is to minimize the additional lines needed. So it's 120 yards long, which is the same length as a standard soccer or football field. The stick, or cross as it's referred to in the rule book, is used to play the game of lacrosse. There are short crosses and there are long crosses. The short cross must be between 40 and 42 inches long, and a long cross must be between 52 and 72 inches long. The width of the head of the stick can be no smaller than 6 inches at its widest point, and all shooting strings must be within 4 inches from the top of the head. If a ball stop is used, you may only use one, and all sticks must have an end cap designed for lacrosse. All players have certain amount of required equipment. For field players, they must have a helmet that is NOCSI approved, a mouth guard that is not clear or white, protective gloves designed for lacrosse, shoulder pads designed for lacrosse that meet the NOCSI ND 200 standard, and arm pads designed for lacrosse that are worn in the proper way. All players must also wear a protective cup or pelvic protector, and that's covered during the coach's certification. Goalies also have some specialized equipment that they have to wear. Just like field players, they have to wear a helmet and gloves, shoes, and a pelvic or athletic protector. But they also must wear throw protection and a chest protector that meets the NOCSI ND 200 standards. All players must wear a mouth guard at all times. There have been some recent changes to equipment over the last several years that may be different from what you were used to if you played the game growing up. First, it is now required that a protective cup or pelvic protector be worn. And the chest protector requirements also add protection for comio cordis. Uniforms during the spring season must always cover the shoulder pads. Many times in the off season, you will see players that will wear tank tops, which might be acceptable for off-season games, but during the spring, all jerseys should cover the shoulder pads. And if a team is wearing sweatpants, they must be one solid color. Generally, the goalie may wear sweatpants, which that determines the color that must be worn by the entire team. No tinted visors may be used, and that's so the player's eyes can be seen in any emergency situation. There have been some recent changes to uniforms. All home jerseys must be white. No more light colored, they must be white. And number restrictions must be from 0 to 99. There is no more use of 00. Now, some equipment is prohibited and allowed. Okay, prohibited equipment includes football helmets, football pants, and electronic devices on the field. But what is allowed are religious medals and safety alert bracelets. There are several members of game personnel that are on the field. Officials, timekeeper, scorekeeper, players, team captains, the in-home, the coaches, and potentially a sideline manager. Game officials must be a minimum of 2. That's a referee and an umpire, and that is very common for youth games. For most high school games, it is recommended to have 3 officials, a referee, an umpire, and a field judge that are all equally ranked on the field. Right? The referee does have final say in all disputes. The timekeepers can be a combination of volunteers, paid staff, or a variety of different options, depending on the level of game. There could be an electronic scoreboard, there could be a manual scoreboard, but in all cases, there must be a working horn at the table. The scorekeeper should also be at the table and should have some sort of visible scoring device if possible. Many schools will have a visible scoreboard. Many youth games will have a small visible scoreboard, such as the flip chart you see here in this picture. And everyone should have some sort of score book or sheets of paper to write down the roster and the other important pieces of information that come up during a game. If a visible scoreboard is not available, the scorekeeper should make regular updates to each coach so they're aware of the game situation. Players typically fall into 4 different categories on the field. It's your defense, your goalie, your attack, and your midfield. Defensemen typically play with long sticks. Goalies typically play with the wider goalie stick. And attackmen and midfielders typically play with the shorter sticks. On a standard game, there's 1 goalie, 3 defensemen, 3 midfielders, and 3 attackmen. Games will also have specialists, such as face-off, which is a FOGO, face-off, get-off. That's a player that only faces off. And an LSM, which is a long stick midfielder. This is a defenseman that plays up in the midfield position. Each team has coaches. One person has to be designated as the head coach that will certify to the officials that all of his players are properly and legally equipped. They are responsible for everybody on their team, including their fans, and they must act in a courteous manner towards the officials and their opponents during the game. Other coaches can ask questions if asked respectfully. The in-home is the starting attackman in the book, and he usually is listed first, and he must be in the pregame lineup. The in-home takes any bench penalties or whenever the penalized player cannot be determined. Each team designates a captain who serves as a team representative on the field. Only one captain is speaking if there are co-captains. They may be replaced during the game.
Is the video not working for you guys?
Nope.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
we're getting-
can't see the video, but we
Yeah,
can
we're
hear
getting
it.
the audio, but the video isn't working.
You guys are killing me. Okay. Let me try doing this again because the video is working for me. Please don't feel free to jump in, guys, if there's an issue. Let me
Yeah, the only thing we're seeing is 3 attackmen, 3 middies, 3 defense, a goal, and the 6x6 cage on the right-hand side.
okay.
Game,
What do you see
and
now?
there is no right to argue with or
Same?
criticize an official.
Same.
An
Yep,
official
still the same thing. The title of the slide is Rule 1, the game, field, and equipment.
Okay. 1 second. Let me. Okay. You still see the same?
Yep.
Rule 1, the game, field, and equipment. Yep.
Okay.
We heard all the audio.
Yeah. Let me stop sharing for a second and call this back up.
I thought maybe you're watching the 85 Bears thing again.
Who won the last game of the year?
Take it with you, brother.
All I have, man.
That looks good. Now we see a new slide titled Captains.
Oh God. All right. Thank you very much for letting me know. I can try to fix that in post. So let's start from here. So we'll just start right from here and see how this works.
is available.
Well, while Jeremy's getting that going there, the referee on the left would obviously
Ball
have
retrievers are
been.
not
Oop,
required, but if they are used,
One second. I can go back.
Yeah. The one on the left there, he's got what I said before was the ready ref. That's a timer that pretty much everybody in college uses and a lot of high school guys do. So if you're going to spend the money, I would encourage a ready ref. The other one with the timer button, that's a little pin on the top of it. I guarantee you within the first 3 weeks of you owning it, you're going to drop it somehow and that pin is going to break and you're going to be out of a timer. So with this one here, it's a lifetime warranty. If something goes sideways, you just send it back in. I think it's like $9.99 and they replace the whole thing. So
Perfect. Thanks, Randy.
Yep.
Ball retrievers are not required, but if they are used, they must wear a helmet and a contrasting uniform. They are not permitted directly behind the goal and should stand at the corners of the field until the ball is at the other end. During a standard NFHS high school varsity game, there are 4 12-minute stop time quarters. JV games can vary from location to location, and youth games can vary by league. There are 2-minute breaks in between each quarter and a 10-minute halftime break, but this can be negotiated down to a shorter halftime break if both coaches agree. During the last 2 minutes of each game, the stall rules are in effect for the team that is leading if they are leading by 4 or fewer goals.
So just to jump in real quick, for youth games, these timings will vary depending on the age. Okay. Not
Starting the
everything's the
clock.
same.
On an out-of-bounds play, you start with one long whistle blast. Your hand goes up in the air for the dead ball. You point in the direction of play and your hand goes back in the air until you are ready to restart play. For an inbounds or unusual play, several short blasts are generally used to get everyone's attention. To tweet, to tweet, to tweet, otherwise known as a cicada whistle. Your hand is in the air for the dead ball. You explain the call. You point the direction that you're going to go, and then put your hand back in the air until you're ready to restart. Starting the clock begins where stopping the clock left off. Your hand is in the air, the whistle is in your mouth and ready to go. You have a solid whistle blast for a 2 count. You're going to wind your arm starting in the top position, 1 full revolution, then a half revolution, with your hand finishing at the side. There should be no half winds. Signaling a timeout. During a dead ball, any on-field player, head coach may call a timeout. During a live ball, an on-field player, a head coach with possession, may call timeout. You're going to give several short blasts using the to-tweet, to-tweet, to-tweet cicada whistle again. You're going to put your hand up to indicate that the clock should stop. You're going to have both hands up and you're going to crisscross them over your head and ultimately pointing with 1 or 2 hands to the team that called the timeout. At this point, you should start your timer, which will go off in 1 minute and 40 seconds, which lets you know that each team has 20 seconds to take the field.
Jeremy, stop that for a second there.
Sure.
This is good right here. This is the timer I was talking about, guys. If you can avoid it at all costs, please do. Jeremy's lost 2 or 3. I've lost 2 or 3. Don's lost 2 or 3. Nick's probably lost 2 or 3. On the very top there, you see a little toggle pin. Guaranteed it's going to somehow fall out of your bag or something, and it's going to hit the ground and it's going to render that timer useless. So if you, and not, I don't work for Ready Ref. I'm just telling you, you're going to have a much better situation if you work for Ready Ref than having one of these things here.
100%.
Each team gets 2 timeouts per half. The 2 minutes of the timeout include the 20-second warning. If the team that called timeout is ready to go early, opponents are given 20 seconds to return to the field. Coaches must remain in the coaches area during the timeout. Officials may also need to call timeouts at various parts of the game. This could be for weather conditions, during dead balls, loss of player equipment, including the goalie, an injured player, or excessive blood, open wound, or blood on the uniform. If an injury occurs on the field, stop play, call the trainer, and report any unconscious or major injuries to your assigning authority. Remember, do not rush an injured player off the field. If possible, wait until a team has possession before blowing the play dead. If an offensive team is advancing to the goal and the injured player is not in the immediate area, let play continue to its natural conclusion. If the ball is loose, you can use alternate possession to award possession, but if it's loose in the crease, you can award the ball to the defense. Teams may go to the sideline and substitutions may be made during an injury timeout. Officials should restart play as soon as the injured player has been safely removed from the field.
Pause it there, Jeremy.
Mercy rule.
Oh, yeah.
So what they're saying, guys, is if there's an injury, okay, if it's in the offensive scrimmage zone, which is the box that you all know, you're going to kill it, okay? Because that particular injured player could even be injured more somehow, some way. But if it's outside of that scrimmage area, as they call it, and they're going the other direction and a guy goes down, if you're the trail official, stay with that player, let the play continue the other direction. Because if you stopped it now, you may actually be taking the other team, even though they're getting up possession on their defensive side, you might be taking away their offensive ability to score a goal. And that's not what we're there for. And the reason you want to be somewhat cognizant of what's going on is you don't want the fake injury type thing. Okay, if a guy goes down like, oh, I'm dying out here, well, you're going to let that play go on and let it come to a conclusion of some way. And so now, if let's say the offensive team gets down there and all of a sudden they decide to pass the ball around, now you're going to kill it. But if they're having a direct run to the goal to shoot and score, you let that play out. But as a trail official, you stay with that injured player. Does that make sense, guys?
And that's one of those things where if you err on the side of caution, you're usually fine. You don't want to, though, allow a player to get an advantage by potentially faking an injury or something to stop plays to prevent like a fast break or a scoring opportunity for the other team. But yeah, as Randy said, it comes with experience. Call that.
Mercy rule. This occurs only in the second half if there's at least a 12-goal difference. Once the score reaches 12 goals or more, it is a running clock. This continues through the end of the game, and it starts on the next whistle after the 12th goal was scored.
So, guys,
The score is tied.
I'm just going to go back to that real quick. This is different at every age group. At 10U, 12U, and 14U games you're doing, there will be some league-specific rules for youth lacrosse on different advantages, whether there's something called awarded possession, which might occur in 10U if there's 6 goals or more difference in the Madison area. And instead of a face-off, in lieu of a face-off, the team that's trailing will get the ball. But again, this is why it's important to know the association and area-specific rules. So the same things for 10U that we do in Madison might not be the same thing we do in Milwaukee, might not be the same thing we do in northern Wisconsin. So you have to make sure you're communicating with that local assigner to make sure you know the area-specific rules. Okay.
If the score is tied at the end of regulation, we go to overtime. Overtime are 4-minute periods, and you have to call one captain from each team for a captain's meeting prior to the start of the overtime. The visitor calls the coin toss for choice of goal only, and first goal wins. This is sudden victory, golden goal. 1 timeout per overtime period per team. Alternate possession stays the same, and teams will switch end after each overtime period. Interruption of play. Appendix E of the rulebook will tell you the details of lightning or thunder. The rules typically require 30 minutes after the last flash. In most situations, the conference, league, or association will have particular rules. In most high school games, this will be handled by the game administrator or the trainer on duty. After the interruption of play, periods can be reduced if both teams agree and a game administrator is there as well.
So I'm going to go back to that real quick. Again, one important thing about youth lacrosse is there's not a team administrator there. There's not a number of other authorities that you have at the high school level game. There's certainly that could be an AD there. So if you see that lightning, and Randy, if you hear the thunder in Madison, it's a 30-minute delay. If during that time you see lightning again, during that 30-minute period, that 30-minute time resets. Now, you as the official do not have the authority to cancel a game. You have the authority to delay the game. The authority to cancel the game resides with the head coach of the home team. Okay, so that's an important distinction to make. You delay the game in Madison 30 minutes, see lightning, hear thunder, 30 minutes. If during that initial 30-minute period you see lightning and hear thunder again, that 30-minute period resets another 30 minutes. Okay. Randy, you have anything to add?
No, that's pretty much how it is. You can, as the official, cancel the game if it looks like you're going to be there over an hour. You do actually have that authority. But as Jeremy is saying, always talk to the home coach. Always, always, always. Because they're responsible for that field. And if it looks like you're not going to get that game restarted within an hour, just call it a day. Now, here's where it gets crazy is let's say it's the first game of a 3-game run and you say, hey, we're canceling everything. But nobody from the first game tells the second game and the third game participants that it's been canceled. So that's where you got to be cognizant of who's going to tell everybody that we're not playing the next 2 games. It's happened many times here in the state of Wisconsin where people have said, okay, we're canceling the game. They've left. And the other 2 contests afterward, nobody told them that the refs went home. So make sure if you're going to do it with that home coach that you're canceling, that you tell anybody behind you that you're canceling. Because otherwise Jeremy's going to hear it, Nick's going to hear it, and I'm going to hear it. Hey, no officials were here. Sometimes we've lucked out and the officials were ready to run right back and do the game. But if the next coming participants didn't know that everybody had left, it's really kind of a bad situation.
Yeah, exactly. Communication with your assigner and with your officiating team is absolutely paramount there. Okay, so that's should be it for this module. Yeah, so I know some of the videos didn't play. So what I'm thinking is I'll find a way to get some of these videos up that are uploaded so you can go back and review. I think it stopped.
I think Nick could post them on our website too, Jeremy. Just post
Yeah.
the videos. So
Perfect. Yeah, let's plan on doing that. I don't think USA Lacrosse is a problem with that.
Happy to do that.
Yeah. Otherwise, it goes right to Nick anyway, so he would be the only one who gets in trouble. So does anybody have any basic questions? Game, field, equipment, personnel, time. A lot of the time and personnel at 10U is going to be different. Okay. We'll talk about some age specific rules next time, but 12U and 14U timing, personnel, really close to high school. Okay. Really close to the same rules if you're playing that you're playing by now. Does anybody have any questions?
Oh, yeah, I have a quick question.
Yep.
So let's say we go to a game and then halfway through it gets canceled and we have to go back home. Are we still getting paid for that game?
Yes, you are in Madison. If you show up at the field and the game's canceled during the game or even at the pregame, if you show up to the field, you get paid for that game. Yes.
Awesome. Okay, thank you.
Yes. And we'll talk about later, guys, is that's part of the reason also you want to get all the payment stuff handled prior to the game starting. You don't want to be chasing around coaches and stuff after the game for a couple reasons. Number one, if there's a weather delay or something happens, you don't want to try tracking them down. But two, you also don't want to necessarily be dealing with coaches after the game who might have beef with some of the calls you make, and then they're chewing on you before you get paid. That's what we also want to avoid.
Yep. And then also, guys, now if let's say it's the first game of a 3-game run for you that day, and you get there and it starts raining and everything's got to get canceled from there on, you don't get paid for all 3. You only get paid for the game you're there on, because if the field is unplayable, that's considered an act of God, and the home team isn't responsible for paying you. So don't hold out for all 3 games. Like, hey, I'm not leaving until you pay me for 3. You're only going to get the 1. But if you're cool about it, there's a good chance you might get all 3. But if you get really aggressive with them, you might just say, here's your 1 game, leave, and then they call Jeremy or me or Nick and say, I never want to see this guy again.
Right. That's what we want to avoid. Okay, so these are good questions. Anybody else have any questions? Weather delays, field, number of players. Randy, correct me if I'm wrong, but in 2025, I think they did say that I mean, okay, let's take a step back. Common sense officiating, right? We're going to talk about the fields, right? We already talked about like the dimensions and everything and where you should have cones. We'll talk about that field training. When there's an issue with the field, like Randy had brought up earlier, try to make it work, especially if it doesn't involve safety to the players. Just find a way. Okay. And actually, not having a properly equipped field or a field properly equipped for a lacrosse game, it's just a technical foul anyway. It's a technical foul that starts before the game. So it just means the away team would get the ball. Okay. What you don't want to do is, unless it's a safety reason, like have make a giant issue about something with the field. Okay. Especially at the 10U level, you might have cones for a crease. Talk about the crease later too. You're definitely not going to have, unless it's in Middleton or one of the other places where they have a specific 10U field. A lot of times you're moving the goals and you're playing lengthwise. You're not playing lengthwise, you're playing widthwise, right? So try to make it work. Okay. Similarly, if a team shows up at the 10U level, they have pennies, make it work. Okay. If they don't have enough kids and both coaches are amenable, mix the teams up. Try to make it work. Okay. There's no cup at the end of the season. There's no trophies for the winning team. It's about providing a safe, essentially fair way in which kids can try lacrosse and develop into players and figure out whether they like it or not, right? Safety and fairness. That's your job.
Jeremy, you nailed it. That's it. You make that game happen come hell or high water. And because you got to remember, guys, you were probably that youngster at one time, and we're looking so forward to getting that game in. So as officials, you're going to do everything you can to get that game in, and actually, you're going to be coaching, believe it or not, while you're officiating the game, Because if you're going to put somebody in the box, explain to them why you're putting them in the box. I mean, don't just throw a flag. Hey, I got a slash on this guy, because he or she just may not know what they did. So you're not just officiating. You're helping the coaching staff get get their players going. One thing I will say this: if you're going to report a penalty, and and this is one thing that grinds me at youth, you're putting the kid in, and the coach says, "Yeah, don't worry about it. That's a bad penalty." Have the chutzpah to throw a flag on the coach for conduct, because it was a good penalty because you called it as a penalty. The coach doesn't get to tell his player it's a bad penalty. You called it, or your partner called it. That's how the game flows. The coach should not be undermining your authority as you're officiating a game. And I tell you, you ding that coach once, he's not going to open his mouth again.
Right. Set the tone.
Yep.
Gabe, you have a question?
Yeah, in regards to field modification, if there's like not a crease or what have you, would we just as officials come together and then go and confer with the head coaches as to kind of how they want it to modify or what kind of things they need to change? Do we defer then to the coaches and kind of move accordingly?
Yeah, so you're not gonna, it's a great question. You'll talk to both coaches, you'll present like a possible option, like, hey, could we just do the crease with flat cones or something? And if both coaches agree, you're good. If the coaches vacillate or disagree with each other, then you're at the end of the day, you're the arbiter. If the coach is so upset that they don't want to play, they could at any time they cannot play the game. But you've done your due diligence to get that game going by offering alternatives. And if both coaches don't agree, it's really on the coaches to kind of uh, be amenable to making common sense, non-safety related game changes. It very rarely happens. The flat cones on the crease you see a lot, right? And sometimes you only see them at like 4 areas, right? So you'll see them like maybe one in the front, one in the back, and one on each side, even though circles, you know.
Would you recommend that as a part of our kit, that we just kind of carry an extra set of, even if it's the bare minimum, just like flat cones and for situations like that?
Yeah, I mean, you can if you're, being super official, and I don't at all dissuade that, but the home team is responsible for having a certain number of cones and cones for the field. Because as you will see, you have to have cones on the corners of the field and also on the box. But yeah, I do. So I mean, I've been doing this a really long time. There are certain things, very few things that if they're not present, you cannot play. Number one is a throat protector for the goalie. If the goalie does not have a throat protector, even if his parents are like, it's fine, I'm his dad, I'm his mom, you cannot play that game without a goalie being properly equipped, and that includes a throat protector. So that is the one. Gosh, Randy, is there anything else?
That, but Jeremy's right. I mean, don't let any adult try to talk you out of, it's okay. It's okay. It's not okay, because I'll tell you what's going to happen. That player is going to get injured in some shape or fashion. And it's going to be on you when the litigation starts because you allowed it to happen. So if you're uncomfortable with starting a game, reach out to Jeremy, Nick, or I. Hopefully we're not on a field somewhere and we can take your call and explain the situation. And then, we'll get it from, let it move on from there. A properly equipped goalie, as Jeremy was saying, a throw protector, if they don't have it, you're not playing, period. It's just not happening. And if And if they say, well, we can put a towel in there or whatever, I don't care what they put in there. If it's not a throat protector, they're not playing.
Yes, and
because they'll try the towel trick on you.
yes, I think in 2007 or 2008, I was officiating a game outside of Madison, and the coach did not have a throw protector, and he offered to put an extra cup under the kid's helmet to hopefully block the ball. And outside of the mortifying embarrassment of a goalie having to wear a cup underneath his helmet, it's completely unsafe to not have a throw protector. So that's one of the few things that will prevent you from having a game. To your point, Gabe, about the flat cones, I do. I have a bunch of flat cones in my bag. It should not be the impetus should not be on us to do that, but I do because Randy and I and Nick and Don have been doing this so long. We've seen a lot of stuff, and not having cones on a crease for little kids, it just it's a tough learning environment for those kids to be in. And it's tough for them to have fun, enjoyable game when we don't know where the crease is. It's hard enough for those of you who haven't played youth lacrosse, certainly at the 8, 10, and 12U level, playing goalie at those levels, unless you're like really into it or really off, it's so difficult. You have all this equipment that's ill-fitting, and there's always a spot where you're gonna get the one kid who's shooting 60, 70 miles an hour, maybe hits you right on the unprotected area, and it's waterworks, right? No. And
Yep.
rightfully so. Like as adults, like as officials, sometimes we get hit with the ball, right? So you have to be as cool as a cucumber in those cases. You know, take the time to make sure the goalie is okay. Even if you have to change out goalies, we'll talk about that at field training. Make every effort to have the game continue, to have the game play, as long as the goalie is properly equipped.
And guys, Jeremy just said a really good thing there about the ill fitting. You're gonna have a team that's gonna have, they bought goalie equipment for the kid that could drive himself there, and they're going to put it on the kid that just woke up with a teddy bear in hand. If it looks unsafe to you, you tell him that guy's not playing goalie because we're not playing this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got all the equipment, but it's just not going to work out well.
Yeah.
And you do have that authority to do that. You can just say, Coach, he's not a properly fitted a goalie. And then they'll give you a whole bunch of reasons why, they got to have little Johnny do this, but safety is first. Jeremy talked to it numerous times. Safety, safety, safety. That's what we're looking for. We want these kids to be safe. I had a properly equipped goalie yesterday in a college game who had his throat protector and everything, and he got hit in the Adam's apple on a shot. Now it's a little bit more than a 10U game, and he dropped to his knees, and we had to hold the game up for a bit until he could actually get his wind and get to the other end, because thankfully it was at a quarter break. So those things do even with the throat guard, it still happens.
Yeah. So just remember, these are for you high school age kids. These are you've been that age. You probably have younger brothers or sisters who are that age. It's a really tough 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 age where, you don't know your pain tolerance and stuff hurts a lot, right? So keep that in mind when you're thinking about, properly equipped players. Okay. You want to make sure elbow pads are over elbows, which I can't even remember why that got popular, but it's stupid.
Because they were sliding them up on their triceps.
Yeah, I remember who did that, but it was some guy at Maryland, and then
yeah,
it caught fire, and yeah. I mean, it's the same with college high school or college age soccer players not wearing shin guards or wearing the smallest shin guard possible. Like, all right, cool, but if you take something the wrong angle, especially at the youth level, it can be serious. So again, properly equipped goalies. Randy, Don, Nick, and I will harp on that because safety is paramount. Okay. So the next rule is flow of the game, which is important. After flow of the game, we're gonna go into fouls. Two types of fouls: personal fouls and technical fouls. And then we'll push through as far as we can today. And then the second session is going to be a lot of mechanics, excuse me, and also working in Arbiter, the signing software, and making sure you know where your tests are in USA Lacrosse. So hopefully, very important. If y'all can't see the screen changing, let me know. All right. So the good part about this is it does not have audio, which is fantastic. Okay. So flow of the game. Why is flow of the game so important? Flow of the game is the speed of the game, the score of the game, the length of the game. All of this factors into the enjoyment at youth lacrosse and potentially the safety and enjoyment and high school lacrosse and above, because people do not want a constant tedious stoppage of play. It detracts from the fun of the game. It also detracts from the learning experience of the game when there's constant fouls, constant stoppage of play. Okay. So fun is important. Safety is more important than fun, especially at the youth level. At the high school level, the anticipation, or hopefully the expectation, is that your players know what they're doing. That is a very big, uh, let's say, hope, and it's not necessarily the reality. But the whistle should be blowing less in high school, college games than it is in youth games, especially during the beginning of the year. You're going to have to find a way to keep the game going. Okay. And some of the ways that we do this as officials, and this is what comes with experience, is that at the 10U, 8U level specifically, you as an official can be talking to the players more than you would at 12U and 14U. For example, you can say, know where you are in the field, goalie. Don't forget you have a 4-second count when they get the ball in their cross. You're anticipating penalties or issues that the teams are going to have, and you're voicing them. Okay, you got to you have to make a pass attempt before you shoot, right? It's better than not saying anything, having them shoot the ball and then blowing the whistle and be like, oh yeah, no goal. You didn't make an attempted pass at 10U, right? So there are ways in which you definitely can influence the flow without blowing your whistle. You can also do that at quarter breaks, be like, hey, I'm looking for this. Like, you got to be careful about this hold. I don't want to call that in the next quarters, okay? Just be consistent with both teams and make sure that your worry about flow is not superseded, or is not as important as safety. Okay. So, as mentioned before, the officials are the third team on the field. It's corny, but it's actually true, especially when there's a 3-man crew that lines up in ascending height, which is pretty funny. I never noticed that until then. The pregame part of why we get there 30 minutes beforehand is extraordinarily important to talk to your partner about the experiences they're having, what they're seeing, if they've officiated that same team before. Like, hey, just so you know, like, they're really sloppy out of the box transitioning. So we just want to, be aware of that. Or, there's other things that you can discuss with your partner to make sure that you're calling a game and you're seeing the same things that will help the game flow. Okay, help the game flow. So keeping the flow of the game. There are ways in which every officiating crew, you and your partner, can help the flow. Consistency. Okay. Consistency puts teams, coaches, and fans at ease. Okay. Making the same call that you do in the first, from the first whistle to the last whistle. Okay. Especially when it comes to the way you and your partner are gauging body contact at 12U, 10U, and 14U, because it's going to be different. Okay. The amount of body contact is going to be different at different age groups. You want to get on the same page with that. Be consistent. All that can happen during pregame. Okay. Your rules and mechanics knowledge, again, USA Lacrosse provides all this information. Your field training is going to provide information. You still got to work on this. Okay. You still got to work. Gabe, you have a question?
Yeah, as a for those of us that are first year officials, you know, obviously everything is new, and so our first game, I know for me personally, officiating other sports, flow almost becomes an autonomous thing the more you gain experience, like getting that feel for the flow. But the first game, you know, there's a propensity towards panic almost if you know that there are things you're going to miss. And because of you're new, you're trying to take it all in. So I know that myself, I try not to fixate on a common foul, right? Because that'll be more salient. And so maybe is that an instance where like just checking in with your lead official and saying, hey, is there specific things I should be, you know, on the alert for, or kind of work with your lead official to know what would be the best things for you to focus on in those first few games?
Yeah, yeah, that's a great question. We'll go over that at field training. And also your first few games that you do as new officials will be with experienced guys. So we will always pair you with experienced guys. So during your pregame, there'll be kind of a you'll get on the field firsthand kind of instruction as well about what they're looking for, what you should be looking for. And then at your halftime, you can see whether or not you're both gauging. And at quarter breaks, you can see whether you're both on the same page and seeing the same thing, right? Because a seasoned official sees a lot on the field, right? But again, when we go to mechanics, your main focus is on one part of the field. One official, one part of the field, the other official, the other part of the field. So even though a seasoned official seeing the whole field, their main focus should be on one part. Your focus is on the other part. So at quarter breaks, at halftime, and after the game, it's a good time to debrief and see whether or not you're missing like a technical issue, whether you're in a good spot to see somebody stepping in the crease from the offense, which is a turnover, a technical foul, whether you're seeing body contact, and that level of body contact is what you should be okay with as an official, and what crosses the line into a penalty, like an illegal body check or so. So yeah, it's gonna be learning. Like again, we train you guys to get certified, but the learning happens while you're on the field at field training, and also in your first year doing lacrosse, where you start to get a better feel of the game and the flow of the game, like how to make the flow best for all the teams, the players, coaches, and you and your partner.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, let's say your first game, Gabe, second and probably third, blowing the whistle as loud as you can and pointing the right direction. You're going to be 3/4 of the way there. That's really just be confident in whatever you do. But I mean, a lot of times, first games for guys, they forget to blow their whistle, either bringing it out or the ball's out or bringing the ball back in. Doing that and pointing the direction you want that ball to go is huge. And then the more you do it, the more confident you get. And it just, like I said, every game you're going to learn something new, to do something a little bit more. And it just keeps building and building and building. So it's a great question. never be shy. If you think you're right, you're right. That's what you do. You go to your seasoned veteran that you're working with and say, hey, here's what I saw. Or if they ask you, did you see this? And they ask you why you didn't call it, explain. And if you didn't see it, be honest and say, I didn't see it. Because you can work with.
That is
So
a great point, Randy. Be honest. If you didn't see something, and like let's say everybody saw it, but you were a little out of position, you can't make a call you didn't see, right? You can't throw a flag after the fact. You didn't see it, then it's a missed call, and those happen. And it sucks when that happens and somebody gets a big hit on them and gets hurt. But that's, no one's perfect. And the more games that you do, the more experience you get, the better you are being in the proper position to be able to make that call.
Cool. Thank you. Appreciate it.
But so, kind of building on that, teamwork and trust and communication. These are all ways in which you're helping the flow of the game just within your team. Okay. So this pertains only to high school, which you all will not be officiating. Okay. There's essentially required time links in every game that you cannot control. Okay. And you should not control unless there's weather related or something else. Right. But hustling is absolutely something you can control. And it's a way in which you can get the game restarted after a goal, after a period, after any stoppage. By hustling, being in the right position, make sure it's only 20 seconds between a goal scored and the face off. Like that stuff you can do. And by you hustling, you'll get the players hustling, the flow will be better. Randy, have anything added to add to that?
no, you just want to keep it moving.
Yeah. Absolutely. Move. Hustle, hustle, hustle. No walking. We'll go into great detail about this at the field training, but there are pregame responsibilities to help set the tone for the flow of the game. When you meet and certify officials pregame, okay, do it expeditiously. If there's a lot of questions, just be like, as friendly and conciliatory as you can. When if you have to stop it and say like, sorry sir, we got to get going, it's 10 minutes before I want to get the coin toss going. But get your certification done, get the captain's coin toss done, set expectations about the substitution box. And we'll talk about this in greater detail at the field training. Make sure that you meet the table personnel, the score keeper and the timekeeper. Make sure they understand. They understand the timing of each game. I've had this happen to me a couple times where go to a game, pre-game, I'm like, okay, just so everyone's, talking to the timekeeper. I'm like, just so you're aware, and they're like, I keep time for high school games. I know what I'm doing. I'm like, okay, 10 minutes, running clock. Okay, yeah, got it. Looking, the game, first quarter's going on. They've been keeping 10-minute stop time. So the 10-minute quarter has now gone to 15 minutes. And, that was 100% on me for not being like, no. You're going to listen. It's 10. Do you understand what 10-minute stop is versus 10-minute running? Like, you want to communicate that. In the Madison area, every single team has age-specific timing requirements for the Madison area. Every team should have that. But just because they have it, you have to reinforce that. You will be provided that information as well. Okay? Make sure you're on top of it. Make sure you're communicating, because nothing kills the flow of the game than adding another 15 to 20 minutes onto the game that should have been cut. Okay?
Jeremy, I'd
Yeah.
like to add 2.5 after the captains and the coin toss.
Sure.
Talk to the face-off guys, because especially at youth, a lot of them are coming out. They have no idea what the hell they're going to be doing.
Yes.
Explain to them how you're going to do a face-off. Even do a demo if you need to, just so they understand it. Otherwise, every face-off is going to take you a minute to get them set up and going.
Great point. Great point. And we will go over on at the field training, and we'll actually watch a video, I think next session on face-offs. It is one of the most difficult, time-consuming issues for a youth lacrosse team to practice and to have their team up to speed. So, even during the game at 10U, you're lining kids up because you don't want to not have a face-off because of a face-off violation for lining up wrong. You're going to be lining them up, and it's going to take a little bit more time, but it's a running clock at 10U. So when you hustle and get everybody lined up and you're constantly hustling, you're getting them more game experience. Randy, do you have a second point?
No, that was it. It's just if you want to make sure that you're doing your face-offs as fast as you can, but you want to explain to them why you're setting them up the way they are. Like Jeremy said, they don't know. I mean, and the coaches, God bless them, they'll just keep sending kids out, and you're literally going to be on Groundhog Day. It's going to be over and over and over.
Right.
So, and that's how you want to do it, because you want them to have a good experience. You're not there to, trust me, you're not there to trap any 10U guy on a face-off violation.
Right.
And if you are, you're in the wrong profession.
Correct. And the one thing, by the end of your first season and second season, you'll just start to hear yourself saying, hand off the plastic, hand off the plastic. Because these are face-off things and game management things that you're telling players to make sure the game doesn't have to stop because they're committing a foul. You can be proactive in certain instances like this to keep the game flowing. Keep the game flowing. Okay, and then finally you have a lineup again. We'll go over that in great detail at the field training. But face-offs and restarts are big areas where your hustle and keeping things going really help the game flow. Okay, so we'll go into some more areas on the. That's a really weird leg tattoo there.
Yeah, and it wasn't that long ago that was forbidden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like a Rorschach plot. But yeah, so we'll go through some of these face-offs. Like Randy was saying, set expectations during your pregame face-off meeting. You can have those at youth. They're very common in high school. Also, at the high school level, there's restrictions on tape, a contrasting tape. A lot of face-off guys like to have their stick looked at by officials before games anyway. Like, can you just take a quick look at this, make sure it's compliant? That's all fine and good. At the youth level, you're also kind of doing that on the fly. And one thing at the youth level, especially at the 10U level, there's a lot of kids coming on the field, taking a face off, and they don't have a mouthpiece. They don't have a end cap. So the part of the stick, the end of the part of the end of the stick, the metal piece that could be sharp, you have to have some kind of end cap on the end of that. Okay. If there's nothing there, the stick is illegal. You got to get those kids off, get a new kid on, right? You don't want to sacrifice safety, like kid not having a mouthpiece or something for flow of the game. Just get them off the field, get a new kid on. Quick, okay? Quick, safe. Quick, but safe. So talk to the kids pregame, hopefully set expectations. The way you handle yourself again will help set the tone and the pace for the rest of the game. So start off strong, opening face-off, okay? So this is a video looking at, is this a good face-off? Okay, so let's take a look at this and then we can chime in. Okay, so, or maroon player, green player. You have an official, we haven't talked about this yet, but they told them to get down, to get in their set position. Here's the line, okay? You can see one player is on the line, the other player is not. So we haven't really gone over face-offs yet, but the way in which you handle that first face-off, okay? The way in which you deal with the face-off guys beforehand, you can eliminate, actually probably not that instance, but you can eliminate a lot of face-off violations by being clear with what your expectations are pregame. or at least when you tell the players to go down, to get set. You can tell them, I always do at the 10U level. I get the players, again, we haven't gone over all the mechanics, but get the players to go down, set. Once you say set, the players should not be moving until the whistle. I tend, at least to the first 2 weeks, I'll say down, and then I'll say to the players, I'm going to yell set really loud. Do not move until the whistle. Okay. I'm going to say set really loud. Don't move until the whistle. Then I say set really loud, like you should do. Blow the whistle. That alleviates the overwhelming majority of face-off violations at 10 and 12U. And that helps flow, right? Do you have to do that? No. But it helps keep the flow of the game going, and it helps the kids understand. Because like Randy said, you're not going to have a bunch of seasoned face-off guys at 10 and 12U. You're not. So keeping the game going, keeping it enjoyable for the fans, for the players, for the coaches, for yourself, just be a little proactive this time. Okay? I think we can maybe go to the next slide.
That clip must be from a couple of years ago when we were, I think it was coming out of COVID where we put them down first and we put the ball in. Yeah, you guys, when you do a face-off, you're going to put the ball down first and you're going to have them come down top to stop, which we'll go over in either next week or on-field training.
Yeah, we'll go over the face-off mechanics both next week and on the field, but it's setting the tone, getting rid of these kinds of, especially at the youth level, these false starts and these dead ball situations helps the flow. Okay. So after a goal, be quick, get the ball. It shouldn't take you more than 20 seconds to get the play going after a goal is scored. Okay. Jog. We prefer to run. Don't walk. All of this sets tone, helps the flow go. Again, we'll go over all of these things in great detail. This is just a shaming of the official slide. I don't know if you have to see the video. All right.
And now Melrose pulling away a little bit as the
one official throws about 30 yards from the goal.
has
The
hurt them
official
now
who's
for
blocking,
2 or 3 goals.
who's now
So it looks like early on in the season, one of the areas of and now Melrose pulling away a little bit as the and now Melrose pulling away a little.
Okay.
Now, I will say this, there's nothing wrong with tossing the ball to your partner.
Yeah, 10, 15 yards. Yeah.
Because especially at the youth, probably 5-6, definitely, or say U12, 10, they have no idea what's going on. U12, you just want to get that field reset because you're on a bigger field, right? You want to be ready to go because there's going to be a whole lot of people not knowing what's going on. But definitely at U14, the faster you can get that field reset, because you are on basically NFHS ruling and timing at that fact, you want to get that next face-off done as fast as possible. And so don't go into tournament mode where you're just kind of like, I'm going to eat this clock. You want, especially if you're in a run time with youth, you want to give them, as Jeremy alluded to earlier, you want to give them as much playing time as possible. And as the officials, you get to dictate how fast they can get back to that restart. And so, try to, don't set a land speed record getting the ball from the goal to the other official, but try to be expeditious and give them what, they want to be there for. So, yeah.
And at 10U, it's only one official for a 10U game. So it's really on you to hustle at 10U games to get the ball from the goalie after a goal, get up to the midfield, get everyone ready, get everyone set, get the game restarted.
Yeah.
And as Randy said, that clock's running. So you're taking playing time away from the kids. So be as efficient as the slide says between fouls, restarts, getting the game restarted. Okay. But don't do the fast restart at the expense of making sure everything's ready for play. Okay. You don't want to be so focused on this quick restarts that you forget you have a flag down, or that you're not checking to make sure both goalies are in the crease because it's a 12U game and one kid has to go off the field because he's hurt or has to take a dump or something. So make sure that you're not so worried about restarting fast that you are sacrificing other aspects of your responsibilities.
And that slide on the right there, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Guys, I cannot tell you how important this is. You should never restart a ball ever. I don't care. It's out of penalty, out of timeout, out of whatever, without telling the goalie where the ball is going to be restarted.
Exactly.
Never, ever, ever. Keeper, we're starting right over there. Keeper, here, goalie, ball's starting behind you. Whatever it is, always tell the goalie where the ball restarts.
100%. Great point, Randy. Yeah, because if the goalie doesn't know where the ball's restarting, he's a very dangerous position, right? Proper restart after fall. I think we'll skip this video. It's until we get, well, I guess not until we get more into the mechanics. But it's also helps what else helps the flow is what are you doing while your partner is doing something? Like if there's a dead ball and your partner is the one who's relaying the penalty information to the bench, what are you doing? Are you just standing there? Are you trying to get everything reset? Are you making sure that, there's no flags on the ground, on the field? Are you making sure that teams are moving fast? Are you saying, hey, let's get set, while your officiating partner is doing the work of relaying the call? When the person not relaying a call to the bench, the other official is efficient and they're getting everything reset so we can get the restart going, that helps the game flow. If you're not, then the official relaying the call is coming back like, oh, where are we? Oh, we got to get everyone reset, right? Just these little things shave a significant amount of time out of the length of a game, whether it's a stop clock or it's a running clock. This seems to be a positive video. So Randy, what do you think? Want to watch this one?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, so you can see the ball. There's a call by the lead official, which is this guy right here. Okay. Oh, it was a goal. So he's jogging. Oh, good guy. Jogging. And he's going to do the
Oh, I think it was
penalty.
Must have been a goalie interference call.
Goalie interference, yeah. So so we'll learn about this later, but the lead official's down here by the goal line extended. He makes the call, goalie interference. Now he grabs the ball instead of walking. He's running / jogging up because he's restarting the play. So goalie interference, the offending team gets the ball on their side of their offensive side. So that was a good example of a guy actually putting in the hustle, and it helped get the play going fast, right? Instead of taking his time trying to get the restart. That shaved seconds off of a game, helps with the flow. Over time, all of those seconds shaved up lead to minutes and leads to a more efficient experience for everybody. So what we also want to make sure is, we don't, again, focus on the fast restart versus other aspects of our responsibilities, like making sure a field's ready. You don't have running restarts from out of bounds. Okay. You start 5 yards on the field when in front of the table area. We'll talk about this when we go back over field training, and we'll talk about this also in a different slide section. But what you don't want to have do is you don't want to start a play in a position where somebody can just run in the field through the substitution box and put the player who you're restarting the ball with at a disadvantage. Okay. Yeah, if the goalie runs out to the end line to try to get possession after a shot, give them the 5 seconds to return to their crease. Okay. Offensive players must be more than 5 yards from the ball carrier. We'll talk about some differences at the youth level. Defensive players do not need to be more than 5 yards away, but if they play the offensive player before they've established 5 yards of separation, that's a penalty. So there's all of these things. You can communicate to the defensive player. Dead ball. Hey, defensive player, just so you know, you're not 5 yards away. But if you want to play this person, you have to be left. You have to have a 5 yard distance before you can come and play them. Right. That's a way you can prevent a restart that has to happen and get the game flow. Okay. Get the game flow. Okay. And again,
Yeah, in fact, make it easy on yourself. Push him away. Tell him he's got to be there because
Yeah.
otherwise you have to watch him and then you're going to have to flag him. And now it's going to slow the game down because now it's a delay of game penalty for 30
Right.
seconds. So just say, get away from him. And as Jeremy said on the goalie one there, if they go to the end line, we got to give them 5 seconds and hold your hand up and count it, swat your other arm out 5 seconds. Now, if a goalie decides to become a field player and they want to run up and down the field and they lose control of the ball and the other team picks it up and shoots and scores it, that's fine. But if the goalie comes out of the crease, and this is a really kind of a wacky rule, but it's still the same. If they come out of the crease and they lose control of the ball and there's a whistle that stops play, even though they were a field player at that moment in time, you still have to give them 5 seconds to get to the crease. You don't want to get burned on that one. Trust me.
and the predicate is the dead ball, right? The
Yep.
whistle
Yep.
stopping play. Yep. Great point, Randy. So these are all things in which you can do to keep with flow. Okay. So we'll go over these quick restarts allowed from inbounds. You don't want to have a restart at the youth level that's so fast that you're not making sure everyone's ready. Okay. High school level, total different scenario. Okay. You're always thinking to yourself, offense 5 yards away, defense 5 yards away, or at least not going to play the offensive player until they have that separation and that there's a clear path to the goal. Okay. So here is an example. Maybe we should skip this until we get to mechanics.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's skip this slide until we get to mechanics. Okay. We'll skip this one too. Just because we want to introduce mechanics fully. And mechanics doesn't technically come in until a little bit longer. So let's go actually into so that was flow of the game. Let's go into, what do you think, personal fouls or technical fouls?
Let's go into technical fouls because those are the ones where you, as an official, you can either penalize or take the ball away depending on who's got the ball and whatnot.
Perfect. Okay, so everyone can see my screen, right? and it's moving. The screen is moving this time. So there are two types of fouls: personal fouls, which involve safety of a player, and technical fouls, which involve more administration of the game. Administration of the game. So personal fouls have longer time-serving requirements than technical fouls. Okay? Again, personal fouls, safety, technical fouls, game administration for the most part. Now, USA lacrosse at the youth level, 10U, 12U, 14U, all time serving penalties, the players serve the full time. Okay? Your local league, your local association, Badgerland and Milwaukee Mela, and in the northern areas, they all may have different takes on whether every penalty serves exactly that amount of time. Because alternatively, what used to be the norm is if you're a team that has a penalty, you commit a penalty. Let's say a personal foul called a slash. Your player sits for 1 minute. Team B, the team that was offended, gets the ball. If they score a goal on the team who has one person sitting out, then that penalty would be released. Okay, so you wouldn't serve the whole time. By scoring a goal, the team would have that player released, unless it was a very egregious penalty, like a unsportsmanlike conduct with a hit. some kind of penalty, like a slash that was so violent, or an illegal body check that was so violent that you could actually make that penalty a 1, 2, or 3 minute penalty that they had to serve the whole time. Okay. That at the youth level, what USA Lacrosse wants is every single penalty serves the full time. So that means a 30-second technical foul serves the whole time. 1 minute slash serves the whole time. Illegal body checks, 1, 2, or 3 minutes serve the full period of the penalty. Okay. So that is a different, that's different from previous years. USA Lacrosse implemented it, I believe, last year, but your local association, Madison, Mela, or up north, will let you know whether they enforce that particular rule from USA Lacrosse, whether they will allow the penalties to be releasable, i.e., when a goal is scored against you, that penalty is rescinded, or whether they will follow USA Lacrosse's rules where all penalties are locked in. Okay, so again, personal fouls and technical fouls. Personal fouls, safety, more time. Technical fouls, game administration. The first set of penalties we will talk about are technical fouls. And USA's very interesting acronym to remember technical fouls. The principle of advantage, disadvantage. Where is a team being disadvantaged by the actions of another team? Okay. So in most situations, your judgment and level of play in game situation will determine how you call technical fouls. Okay. But there are some fouls that you absolutely must call. Okay. Offsides, crease violations, etc. We'll go over those. Okay. So USA Lacrosse looks at technical fouls as motion versus contact versus game management. Motion, contact, game management. Motion technical fouls, offsides, crease violations. If a goalie or if an offensive player steps into the crease of the team they're trying to score on, the defensive team. Similarly, if in a rare form, if a defensive player carries the ball into and then out of the crease. Okay, so there are a number of crease violations, illegal procedures. Okay, similar to what we have on face-off violations, illegal screens and warding off. Okay, illegal screens are very similar to the screens you set in basketball. You have to be stationary. Stick has to be within shoulder width, natural shoulder width, and your legs have to be reasonably within shoulder width. You can't spread out like NBA screens. Warding off is a penalty where an offensive player, okay, either uses a hand that's not on the stick to gain an advantage by pushing away a defender, okay, or by holding the cross with a gloved hand where the glove is on the plastic. Okay, there's a couple examples of warding off we'll show you shortly, and also at field training. But it's really important. Warding off at 10 and 12U is one of the most common penalties we see. Okay, a kid who's not really so sure about cradling and can't really do it well will have one hand on the stick, and his free hand will be pushing another player away or trying to push a stick away or doing anything but being on their own cross. That is a warding off, and it's going to be a technical foul. Okay. So these are very common things that you see. Very common things you see at the lower boys youth levels. Okay. Illegal contact. Illegal contact. Examples of that are holding. Okay. There are illegal holds in lacrosse. Okay. There's interference and there's pushing. Pushing. We'll talk about all these in more detail. And then there's game management. Conduct fouls, which Randy alluded to before. Those can be technical and those can be exacerbated or longer penalties on sportsmanlike conduct. And then there's also stalling, which technically is a technical foul. And that comes into play typically at 12 and 14U when advancement counts aren't enough to make sure a team is making a lacrosse effort to continue play, i.e., they're not just trying to hold the ball with a lead and run the clock out. Okay, there are expectations for teams to be able to make lacrosse plays during the game and not drag the clock out. Okay, so let's go over motion fouls. Okay, so here's where it gets a little bit Wooly and Randy, Don, Nick, and I will offer our guidance here. Offside is not always an advantage. Okay, not always an advantage, but it has to be called because it's a line violation. Lines in lacrosse are out of bounds. Okay, the end lines out of bounds. If you touch a line, you're out of bounds. Okay, the goal line, for a ball to be considered a goal, that ball has to completely cross that goal line. Randy, Nick, and Don will regale you with stories about last-minute shots that didn't make it over the goal line, so it doesn't count as a goal. Okay, but if you step on any of the out-of-bounds lines, you are out of bounds. It's not like soccer. Okay, not like soccer. For offsides to occur for a team, they would have, again, this is 12 and 14 in high school aged teams. So you would have 7 players in your offensive half. 7 players in your offensive side, you are considered offside. So when you have 10 players on a team, which we have at 12U, 14U in high school, okay, you have to keep 4 players on your defensive side, goalie and 3 defensemen. But that goalie, if the goalie runs over midfield, one of your midfielders can satisfy that requirement. You just have to have 4 players on your defensive side. Okay? On your offensive side, you cannot have more than 6. If you have 7, you're offsides. Okay? So remember, you have 3 midfielders at these ages, right? You have 3 attack, 3 defense, and a goalie. Keep 4 back, any 4 on your defensive side, and you can have no more than 6 on your offensive side. So if that 7th player touches the midfield line with their foot, while you already have 6 players in your offensive zone, you're offsides. Does everyone understand? Okay, so lines matter. For offsides, touching that midfield line, if you already have 6 in your offensive end, you're offsides. Okay, not keeping 4 players back on your defensive side, you're offsides. Okay, anybody have any questions? Great.
Unless they're subbing out.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that. Yeah, thanks for throwing that in there. We'll talk about that soon. And that's one of the things that you'll see at 14U, but certainly in high school. Okay? So you high school players know that there's a grace period from when you're subbing through the transition box.
Yeah, and as Jeremy was saying, you're looking at it, you're literally, as the official, you're always looking forward. You're always counting forward. You're not counting backwards, you're counting forward. So the easiest thing to do, and I talked about a couple hours ago, you're always counting something. Count the offense first. If they have more than 6, it's a turnover. They drop the ball, we go the other direction. Then you count the defense. If they have more than 6, it's a flag. and now we're truly going the other direction, and we're starting at midfield. So always count your offense first because it's the easiest way out of it. Oh, you got 7. right, turn the ball over, we go the other direction. Then you count your defense. Oh, we got that. And now it's a flag, time serving, 30 seconds, and we're going this way. And you're also counting long poles. And this is where you're going to really get into. And at youth, you're going to see a lot of times there's going to be too many long poles out there.
Right.
I'm not a huge guy that wants to penalize youth teams, especially 12 and under. And it's really a coaching thing where they're just not paying attention to who they're sending onto the field. But you know what? It is a penalty. They got too many long balls. You flag it and you do it that way. But you can use that as a learning experience for the coaches and the players at that moment in time.
Yeah. And for those of you new to lacrosse, as Randy was saying, and I think it was one of the slides that probably didn't show in the video, your typical field stick is 40 to 42 inches. Okay. Your goalie stick is longer and wider at the head. Long sticks are those longer than 42. Okay. 72 is the length, the absolute highest length you could be. At different ages, there are restrictions on how many long sticks you can have on the field at once. High school, 14U, and in Madison, 12U, you can have 4. Okay. No more than 4. So that is one of the things, like Randy said, you're always counting, right? But you have to be conscious of the fact that.
So what's the difference? Oh,
go ahead.
So what's the difference between this in the scenario Jeremy described? We're on a transition. Player number 7 comes up and touches the line. What's the difference between you being able to know right away whether that's offsides or whether the coach starts hollering, "Oh, he's offsides," and then you have to wait, and then you have to count, and then maybe you count again, and then you make the call, right? The difference between those two scenarios is in one, you're doing what Randy said, you're always counting, you're looking forward, right? So don't be caught in that situation where somebody may or may not be offsides, and then you have to go count. If you are routinely counting, you will know right away, right? Just wanted to add that.
Great.
Good point.
Yep, perfect. So again, starting out, you're going to have so much stuff that you're thinking about. And like Randy said, the big stuff. But you and your partner, need to get on the same page about understanding all the rules for the age you're doing, right? Advancement counts. All of this stuff plays a role, but certain things like offsides and counting transcend all levels of lacrosse. Okay. These are big things that you big picture items that you want to absorb and understand, kind of at the front end. So you want to make sure you devote a lot of time to this. Okay. How to count offsides as Nick just said. We'll talk about trail and lead officials and two-man mechanics, but the official, who's the last one up the field, is the trail official. They were the ones who were at the other end line or other goal line of the field. And as play moves forward to the other end, the trail official, who was at the other goal, then moves up to the other side of the field. And the other official becomes the official closest to the goal, which we call lead official, right? The trail official, the guy who's running up the field second, he's the one who's doing the counting, primarily doing the counting. As the lead official, you're counting too, but again, the action's in front of you. So we have different parts of the field as officials that we focus on. Okay. So in the early stages of your development as officials, that's one of the most important things you understand. Where's my field division? Okay. What am I looking at primarily? What is my partner looking at? And what counts am I doing in my head all the time? Players, advancement counts. We'll talk about those in a little bit too. All of these things are going. Focus on the big things, okay? Focus on the big things. Those are even things like offsides. Very important. Because, as you can imagine, coaches have a really good view of that midfield line, the line that separates the two halves of the field.
Okay. The line that will denote whether a player is offsides or not. You as an official have to make sure that you understand that sometimes, especially if you're not hustling, that a coach is going to have the best view. Okay. But this harpens back to the point that if you don't see something, don't call it. Do not call something that you don't see. Okay. Gabe, you have a question?
Yeah, in one of the videos that you showed, the one with the two kids on the line, there was one player that had a stick touching the line. In that situation, can their stick touch the line? And then secondly, like, would that be a good situation to just remind players of kind of like the mechanics of the face off and then have them go ahead and start?
Yeah, that's a good point. So that was a dead ball face-off, and we haven't gone over that in great detail, but that's a dead ball situation. It's a great question, right? But during live play, right, any player can go over midfield as long as a team keeps 4 in the back in their defensive side and is no more than 7 in their offensive side. Okay. But the line itself, if you step on the line, it's considered out of bounds. If you're the 7th offensive player stepping on the midfield line, it will be out of bounds. That's a great question. And we'll go over the dead ball. Dead ball is different, since play hasn't started, you're stepping on every line, right? But for face-offs, you want to be up to the line, not touching. You want to make sure that players are lined up properly. And we'll go over all that in really detailed language. Good question, Gabe. So what we were talking about in 2-man mechanics, again, the way you and your partner officiate a game, the trail official will have that responsibility. Always want to make sure that, like Randy and Don and Nick said, your eyes are in the right spot. You don't want to be looking at the wrong thing when a line violation occurs and you can't make the call. Okay, and that comes with practice. Do we want to watch the video, Randy? What do you think? Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, let's give it a shot, see what they got.
All right. So this is going to be a video example of offside. So you have a dark team and a white team. You have an official here at midfield, and you have another official here. So this looks like, here's the play starting. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 offensive, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
No, there's 7.
7 offensive.
Yep.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So,
and guys, this happens really, believe it or not, quite frequently on almost like a free restart here, where some guy will just go offsides.
So here is a long stick. So he's either a defense or a long stick midi is where he was positioned. Okay. But as he caught the ball and brought it up the field, the player who started the restart, the short stick, did not stay back in their defensive end, meaning 7 players came over. Now, when technical fouls happen on the team with possession of the ball, it's a turnover of the ball. There's no time serving penalty. Okay, let me say that again. When the offensive team, the team with possession of the ball, commits a technical foul, they lose possession of the ball.
And the restart is where you killed the play. They don't get a free clear because it's, as Jeremy said, it's non-time serving.
Right. Exactly. So that means the offensive team puts the ball down, does not throw it, does not, kick it anywhere. They put the ball down, and as long as it's not starting right in front of the goal, the play restarts in the general vicinity, i.e. the area that the foul was committed. If a technical foul is committed by the defensive team, the team that does not have possession of the ball, the whistle does not blow immediately, but the referee throws a flag. Okay? Think about this. The defensive team They commit a technical foul. The offense has the ball. Okay. When the defense commits that technical foul, if the offense still has the ball, we don't want to stop play and take advantage away from the offensive team. They've already been disadvantaged. There's a technical foul. Okay. We don't then want to stop the play immediately because the offense still has the ball. We want to let the offense proceed until either at the youth level, the ball is lost and hits the ground, or the defense gets the ball, or the offense commits its own technical foul. Okay. So these plays, these technical fouls are about advantage, disadvantage. Okay. You don't want to disadvantage a team twice, i.e., the offense has the ball, they have a technical foul committed against them, and then you don't want to stop the play immediately and say, hey, technical foul, 30 seconds, right? But if you're the defensive team and you commit that technical foul against the team in possession of the ball, that is a flag down situation and a time-serving penalty, typically 30 seconds. Okay? So it's a big difference. When the offensive team in possession of the ball commits a technical foul, it's a turnover. They just drop the ball. No one goes to the penalty area. When the defensive team commits that technical foul against the offensive team has possession of the ball. You throw your flag down. You don't blow your whistle. Okay? And then the play proceeds until the offense drops the ball on the ground. The offense commits a technical foul, or there's another stop of play. Okay? Does everyone understand? Colin,
Yep.
question?
Yep. I was saying, don't beat yourself up if you throw the flag. Well, number one, throw the flag and then yell flag down so your partner hears it. And as your partner, they should be yelling back to you, flag down, right? It's called the echo. But if you just decide that you're going to blow your whistle and kill it there, don't sweat it, okay? It's just an inadvertent whistle at that moment in time. You still have to adjudicate the penalty and just learn from it, okay? So don't go home going, oh my God, I threw a flag and then I killed it right away. You'll learn how to put the pauses in there.
Right. Great point, Randy. And again, technical fouls are not about player safety. It's about game administration. Colin Piskowski, do you have a question?
I do. So stepping back just a little bit, talking about the foul, say it's an offsides, you count everybody up. It's been 2-3 seconds. They're 10 yards in front of the goal, but they're still 15 yards, 20 yards away from where the infraction occurred of offsides. Do we want to just, wherever the ball is at the time of the whistle, they drop it and then the opposite team then picks it up and then starts? Or do we go to the middle because that's where the infraction occurred?
It's where you kill it.
Okay.
Okay. Because, and this is something Steve Perez has told numerous people. He's a WILOA training director. There is no time limit on when you call offsides. Okay. So, and you will have a game. I guarantee you will have a game where for 15, 20 seconds, there is a team offsides before one of you actually see it. And you're like, oh my God, how long have they been there? But once you recognize it, you blow the whistle and you just move the other direction. Now, if I'm wrong, Don or Nick, you can tell me I'm a liar, but I'm telling you, we've all been there where it's been 15, 20, oh my God, it could be 30 seconds before some, like, oh my God, there's too many people here.
Truth. It happens.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
And Colin and the rest of you, the one thing is that when we get on the field and we go over, really harp on the mechanics, right? That trail official, the new trail official, once the ball goes in the other end, they're coming up the field. They're seeing whether you're stepping on a line or what's and counting forward. Remember, you're always counting forward. So they're really going to make that, be able to make that call also. So it could take, like everyone's saying, 10 seconds. It doesn't matter. Like Randy said, there's no time limit on throwing that offsides flag. It doesn't have to be within like 3 or 4 or 5 seconds. Great question.
Yeah, and based on the line on this video here, or on this thing here, you could be offsides in one spot and not offside on the other.
Yeah, it could be a different county.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at this video and then we'll see how bad this one is. Yes. Very, very common where we see a defensive player initiate contact with an offensive player, and that contact that the defensive player initiated moves them off sides. It doesn't matter whether who initiates the contact in this case, but a lot of times you'll see a defensive player go for an offensive player in possession of the ball. They get knocked down, they roll around, and they end up on the opposite side of midfield.
Yep. And the trail got it there because you see the flag up in the air. Guys, when you throw a flag, throw it high. Okay. I mean, you don't have to hit this, space shuttle, but don't just like pick it up and just kind of toss it at the ground. Throw it high so everybody knows something's going on.
I got a question about that.
Sure.
If a defensive man pushes a offensive man into the crease, does it still count?
Is it illegal?
Is it offsides then? Is it like a crease call on the offense, or like what's the procedure there?
Then you can blow your whistle. It's a push, and you just give it back to the same team that had it, because it was an illegal move to put that guy over the line.
So in certain cases, Wendorf, you're going to have a push from behind, an illegal push from behind, which is going to be a technical foul. And that player on the offensive player, that player then goes into the crease. That technical foul going into the crease automatically stops the play anyway.
So what if it's illegal? What if the other player is just like pushing up against him and then pushes him into the crease, like legally though, without like a technical foul pushing him into the crease?
Then he is offsides.
Yeah.
All right,
or
okay,
in the
that's
crease,
what
either or.
Yeah. All right.
So and depending on what level you're at, that level of body contact is totally permissible, right? At pretty much all levels of youth lacrosse, there's contact. 10U, very little contact as opposed to 14U, but there's still contact. It's still a contact sport, right? We want to keep it safe, but if you're legally bodied into the crease, that's a technical foul. You lose possession. Yep. All right, so we can advance this one. And here, perfect example. Okay, so crease violations, not always an advantage. Okay, these are not always an advantage. You're looking for advantage, disadvantage. That's not the case. Must be called because it's a line violation. Okay, so advantage, disadvantage does not apply to all line violations. Okay, now you can use something we'll talk about later where it's a slow whistle situation where you see something and you don't blow your whistle immediately on a crease violation. If the team that the defensive team, when offensive player commits a crease violation, the defensive team has the ball and is on a break or has an advantage due to their play, you don't want to stop the play and cause the team that was originally offended, the defensive team, to lose an advantage that they gained. Okay, so that's part of the next level thought process that occurs officials. Game's fast. Everything's happening all the time. You're counting. To slow it down, you focus on the main things: fouls, times, counts. Okay? So crease violations, they don't automatically cause you to blow the whistle. Okay? It's a technical foul. You have to see whether there's a potential advantage by the team that was offended.
Yep, that's a great point too. And go back Jeremy. Play on. If you're a player, you've heard it many times, right? When you're going to do a play on, your arm goes up, you yell play on. But here's one thing I can tell you about being an official. Nobody can teach you to do a play on. You either get it or you don't. It could be your very first game you officiate, or it could be the 6th game of your 3rd year where it's like click, boom, you do the play on. Because you just, like, as Jeremy was saying, you recognize it, something has happened. Here we go, play on. You want the ball to keep, the play to keep continuing, but you're you're getting it like, okay, if I blow the whistle, I kill the play. Now we got to restart from scratch. So if you can keep it moving, that's what you want to do. And like I said, no one can teach you how to do a play on. You either get it or you don't. And once you get it, you got it forever. But until that point in time, it's like, I got to blow the whistle. No, don't blow the whistle.
And again, for new guys to the sport, play on refers to a slow whistle situation. Okay. And we'll go into great detail with that the next training session and the field training. And again, it's really hard. It's like trying to teach folks immunology from a reductionist standpoint. So USAA Lacrosse does the best job they can with these materials, but some of the things they talk about are not necessarily things that we've covered yet. So that's why, after the second session, things will really start to resonate. We apologize for the non sequiturs. But yeah, play on. You can always use that with increased violation. A legal procedure, as Randy, Don, and Nick and I will tell you, we use it for, it's like a kitchen sink bucket, right? So it's and here USA Lacrosse is a great job. It's a category, not a specific call. Okay, so a bunch of things will be illegal procedures. Those could be delay of game, not having a mouthpiece. Okay, a ton of things come into a legal procedure. Okay, so a legal procedure is also something that you start to develop as you officiate more and more, and certainly in high school. Expectations that you can communicate pregame to alleviate calling to make you not have to call a legal procedure so often. Okay, so when you get experience, you'll start to know things like, hey, mouthpiece is in. Make sure your restarts are, you're ready for a restart after a goal. We're going to get going 20 seconds after. These are things you're communicating in the pregame, so you don't have to call them during the game. Illegal procedure calls, a lot of those are bucketed that you can address in pregame. Okay. And one thing that we do, especially with mouthpieces, or with some technical fouls, that could be a legal procedure. You don't want to really hurt the team, but if you see a mouthpiece, call the mouthpiece. But for a lot of these calls, when the team has the ball, especially with conduct penalties from the coach, you can use a 30-second technical foul conduct penalty when the coach of the team with the ball is being unsportsmanly or being disrespectful. That way, they just lose possession of the ball. It's a 30-second call, and you can set expectations with that coach. Like, just so you know, it's the one time I use a 30-second conduct technical foul. The next one will be unsportsmanlike conduct. Okay, so illegal procedures, you can really cut those down with a good pregame. Illegal screens, moving picks, similar to basketball. Again, hands no more than shoulder width apart. Everything should be within the shoulders. A lot of you guys do basketball too. Leaning, not having your feet set, or having an exaggerated wide stance. All of those are common with illegal screen calls or moving picks. Okay, we'll see this example of a pretty obvious illegal screen. Okay. So everything has to be within shoulder width. So as this player comes in, he sticks the butt end of his stick out, trying to interfere. It's an easy example of illegal. And he kind of leans. Okay. So a lot of these are common sense and as similar to other sports that you're involved with. Okay. Illegal contact. Okay. In the bucket of illegal contact, you have a number of fouls. Some of these can be challenging to call, especially for new officials. Okay. Holding. Holding whether you have possession of the ball or no possession. Okay. So with possession, it's advantage, disadvantage. Okay. So if you have possession of the ball and somebody is not this is going to be called, in youth, especially, if somebody is holding you with the area of the stick outside of their gloves, and we'll show you this in better examples, sometimes if it's not causing a disadvantage to the offensive player, it's not going to be a flag down, slow whistle, 30-second technical foul. In the case of these illegal holds and holding, it's advantage, disadvantage. And that distinction, whether the team that's being held is being disadvantaged or not, is your discretion. Your discretion. And that's why it's very important to talk to your officiating partner before the game to get an idea about your expectations of what's considered a hold or not. At the youth level, I have to say, a lot of times, very rarely, certainly at the 10U and even the 12U, do you see holds that don't cause a disadvantage. Okay. The high school level and the 14U level, you can see holds that don't lead to a disadvantage. But typically at the youth level, you are seeing a disadvantage to the player who has the ball. Okay.
That's an excellent point, Jeremy, because there are times where you know it's a hold, but the guy being held is not being disadvantaged. He's broke through the hold. And you don't want to kill it because you want him to have his advantage to get to the net.
Yep. So again, these are instances where, you know, your experience, the more games you do, the more discretion you'll be able to provide. But very important you talk to your partner about this pregame, because that will help set the tone and help you be consistent through the whole game. Colin, do you have another question? Oh.
No.
Gotcha. If it's a loose ball, so nobody has possession of the ball, okay? Loose ball. You want to see whether or not somebody is holding at the youth level, okay? You have, at the 10U level, you have 3 yards. You can make contact with somebody within 3 yards. The older age levels, it's 5 yards in high school, okay? You can check a stick within 3 yards. You can check players within 3 yards within the rules at 10U. But at the older ages, it's 5 yards. 5 yards, okay? So the ball's loose and there's a hold on a player. Is there an advantage, disadvantage? Are they, like Randy said, is that player just running right through the hold and there's no disadvantage? That's okay. Okay. But if they're being held and they're being disadvantaged, then because the ball is loose, if the team that's being offended, so the team that's being held doesn't get the ball, okay, you blow your whistle and you end the play. But if they do get the ball, it's not a problem because you're doing a play on situation. And it's really important, this slow whistle play on situation, that you yell it loud. Okay? You're always yelling, flag down. Okay? You're also yelling, play on. Your arm goes up, play on. Okay, that means you have a technical foul. Ball's loose. You're waiting to see who gets possession before you blow the whistle. Okay?
Yep. And that picture that you guys will see that they have right here, you will see this probably 90% of the time when an attackman's coming around the crease trying to get to the front of the goal. Almost guaranteed.
Yep. Level of play does matter. Can the player being held play through with no advantage loss? Just like what we talked about. And context matters, as Randy's pointing out with this picture, right? For adults, high school, college, post-college, right? This player, the attackman or the offensive player, you can see he's making a cut and he's leaning. He's trying to draw in the contact from the defensive player, right? To kind of get that call, to kind of solicit that call, right? He's an adult guy's probably not enough at a disadvantage at this point. But what we have to watch out for, and we'll go over this a lot, is the head and neck area at the youth level. We have to be very conscious of sticks and contact to the head and neck area. Okay. I'm going to say something that's very important that you understand. At any level of lacrosse, if you are scooping a ball, meaning a ball's loose, you go to scoop the ball, player A goes to scoop the ball, and as a natural moment of the motion of them scooping, if they come up and hit a kid in the helmet or hit a kid in the throat, unfortunately, that's not a penalty. Okay? That's a natural part of the game. It stinks. It sucks. But if you're naturally making a lacrosse motion, scoop up the ball from the ground and your stick comes up, hits a kid in the head, that's not a penalty. Similarly, if you're passing or shooting, normal motion, and you shoot and your stick hits a kid on the head, that's not going to be a penalty unless it's obvious, like an obvious attempt to skirt those rules. Those are things that happen in the contact sport of lacrosse. They will cause the fans and the coach to scream incessantly that you missed the call. But scooping the ball, making head contact or neck contact, natural follow through a shot or pass, head contact, that's not going to be a penalty. That's not going to be a penalty, even though it is it could cause injury to the player who gets hit. Randy, do you have anything to add on that?
No, that I'm glad you brought that up too, because and as Jeremy said, the sidelines, both sidelines are going to go apoplectic. But scooping, shooting, and passing are three things that you can do with your stick. Aside from what Jeremy said, if you're going to take a pass and you're passing this way and you decide you're going to change your path of your pass or your shot to whack somebody, that can be called.
Yeah.
But in the natural flow of what you're doing to get rid of that ball or retrieve that ball off the ground, that's fair game.
Yeah. Yeah. So please be aware that, the better and more comfortable you are with the rules, like we just discussed, we'll go over this again next week and we'll go over this at field training. Those natural flows of the game, scooping, shooting, passing, making head contact with a natural follow through, it's not a penalty. It's not. So we got to make sure, this is one of those instances where you're doing your job, you know the rules, nobody else knows the rules. Okay. So let's look at this example of holds.
In this clip, White has the ball and he is dodging to the goal when he is held by the red long stick defender around the neck.
See, this is
a
obvious.
common hold seen in lacrosse games, and the official correctly throws his flag. The red defender should be assessed a penalty of 30 seconds for this technical foul.
And it's nice to hear the voice of Gordon.
Here, White has the ball behind the goal, and he passes to his teammate, who is held around the neck by the red defender.
And what the giveaways
the red
are
defender's
here, guys,
stick comes
is the
up
pull.
and around. In this clip, White has...
Because like in that static picture that we had, we don't know if he's pulling back on the guy, right?
Right.
But what you're looking for is that pull. Because just because he's got his pull out there doesn't necessarily mean it's a hold. He's entitled to hold it wherever he wants to. He just can't pull back on it. That's where you have the hold.
Yes. So holding, it's going to take time for you to get really comfortable in understanding and determining what's a disadvantage hold, what's not a disadvantage hold. Okay. At the youth level, the vast majority, especially at 10 and 12U, of those holds will be disadvantaged and should be flagged. Okay. The nuance comes at the 14U level and the high school level. And all you high school players on this training right now, if I went person by person, you'd be like, Oh my God. I had this horrible disadvantage against me on this holding call. It was not called. You know, everybody has stories of those. Okay. Even I have stories of those from my high school and college playing days. But as officials, you have to look at things objectively. You have to rely on your training, rely on your experience, and look for that advantage, disadvantage. Similarly, with pushing, you can have pushing with possession or without possession. Okay. Pushing when a player has possession and someone pushes him, sometimes it's not going to be disadvantage. Okay. And if that case, it's not going to be called. Okay. So again, advantage, disadvantage. We'll go over a number of examples of this next week again. But where you see pushing a lot at 10 and 12U specifically is loose ball situation. Push from behind, player B pushes player A from behind, player A falls over. Okay. At the younger levels, you can use your play on, which would be a slow whistle, because if the player who got pushed over, remember there's no possession, the ball's loose, the player who got pushed to the ground that you did the slow whistle play on for, okay, if they get up quick, pick up the ball, the play on is over. Okay. But if the team that pushes picks up the ball, then you blow your whistle, stop play, and award it to the other team, the team that was pushed. Okay. So these are advantage, disadvantage things at the 10 and 12 level. There's going to be a lot of disadvantage pushes, specifically from behind. You can ask Bennett. You can ask Randy. You can ask anybody else who's coached or done these games for a long time. There is a lot of pushing from behind. Okay. So make sure you're assessing advantage, disadvantage. Okay. And that's exactly what they say here with the loose ball. Okay. With pushing, this should be pushed. Can the player being pushed play through with no advantage lost, right? And if the player gets pushed even to the ground, they pick up the loose ball still, there's no disadvantage. The play on's over because they've picked up the ball. Okay. There is no legal push from behind. Okay. At the youth level, you need to get comfortable recognizing whether there's a push from the front or side. Okay. There's a push from the front or side. It can be legal depending on the context of advantage, disadvantage, right? Because there is contact. But pushing from behind is never going to be legal. Okay. Pushing from behind is never going to be legal. Get pushed from the big numbers in the back, it's always going to be illegal. Okay.
And sometimes, guys, you will see where somebody will push somebody from behind. And the only disadvantage is they created it for themselves because they now separated the guy that they just pushed further along. So you're just going to let it go because there was no disadvantage to the guy that just got pushed.
Right.
So don't be afraid to not make that call. Just, when the coach says, "Oh my God, he pushed him." Yeah, but he actually created the advantage for you, coach. What else do you want me to do?
Right. Exactly. So here's a quick example of a push, loose ball, loose ball, loose ball. Okay. So now blue has possession. It's pushed out of bounds from behind. Or was the ball loose? I can't even see. So here it's possessed, loose ball, loose ball. Scrum for it. Looks like blue did get. Yep. So this is an example of where pushing from behind versus pushing from the front or side. Contact within 5 yards of a loose ball or a player who has possession of the ball from the front or side is legal. Anything from the back is going to be illegal. You'll also see this a lot when a player is running on either sideline. Okay, so they're inbounds, they have the ball, they're running up the field on either the side with the benches or the side with the fans. And a player will start running, trailing them, can't catch up to the player who has the ball. Okay, so the defensive player has a disadvantage right? Because he's not fast enough or can't catch up. So he makes contact from behind, pushes the player out of bounds. Okay. That's a 30-second technical foul. The offensive player had possession of the ball. They had an advantage. The defensive player could not catch up, pushed from behind, which is illegal, causing the player to step out of bounds, plays over, 30-second technical foul. Okay. So the offensive player was disadvantaged. They had possession of the ball. It's going to be a time-serving 30-second technical foul. Interference, non-goalkeeper. So the goalkeeper has a set of rules, which we talk about next week, but there can be interference on any player, okay? Goalie or field. So interference is also kind of a catch-all rule, like a legal procedure, okay? You can't prevent a player from free movement across the field, okay? This typically happens on the opposite side of the action. So if one side of the offensive side has the ball and they're working a play, you see interference a lot on the other side where players are preventing another player from coming in, making a cut, moving to the goal. Okay. So loose ball versus possession. Okay. Interference is called if there's a loose ball and a player is interfering with another player to get the ball outside or more than 5 yards away. Okay. Within 5 yards, you can make legal checks. You can make, stick checking. You can use body positioning to prevent a player from getting there within that 5 yard area. Outside of 5 yards, if you're checking a stick on someone, that'll be interference. Okay. Offense, like a technical foul, like technical fouls are, if you have possession, you commit a technical foul, you lose possession. Okay. Defense, if you're playing defense, you commit a technical foul against somebody who has possession of the ball, flag down, slow whistle situation. Okay. This can happen with off-ball pushes, off-ball stick checks, and off-ball pushes into the crease. So we had a question from Wendorf previously about, if somebody gets pushed into the crease, if it's a legal push from the front or side, okay, and you push an offensive player into the crease, that is going to be a technical foul by the offense. They lose possession. If you push somebody from behind into the crease, okay, or you pull them into the crease, an offensive player, to try to get that penalty, that's a technical foul on the defense. Okay. So this happens a lot, especially in 14U and high school lacrosse. I think we'll skip this in the interest of time. We'll play this one. If you have Red with the ball. You see White kidney jabs Red into the crease, trying to get a crease call, okay? Very easy call. Very easy call for an official to make. White was pushed Red into the crease, created a disadvantage. Easy call. Okay. Game management fouls. We'll see if we can finish up with this session with this part. Game management fouls are typically conduct fouls or control fouls, okay? Like I said before, this is a way you can get coaches and players under control with a technical foul instead of making it a time-serving personal foul, okay? What's important is it can be called on a coach, player, or non-playing personnel. Non-playing personnel. You cannot call a conduct foul on fans. Okay? You cannot call a conduct foul on fans. It's got to be somebody in the bench area. Okay? It is the best first level attempt at controlling a coach, a player, a non-playing personnel's behavior before it escalates into the more severe unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. Okay. Once you use a conduct foul on one coach, okay, you then, if their conduct doesn't continue, you can escalate, you should escalate that to an unsportsmanlike conduct, which is amongst the personal fouls. Okay. But if a coach chirps at you, okay, and you use that conduct foul, if the other coach chirps at you to that same level, you have to use that conduct foul on them. Be consistent. Okay. Be consistent. So the conduct foul is a technical foul. It's a game management, game control foul. Okay.
And I can't stress what Jeremy said enough. If you're going to give it to one coach, that's where you set the bar. If the other coach does the same thing, you got to give it to him too. Because you can't say, well, I didn't feel so bad when he yelled at me. Well, that's if whatever your threshold is, that's it. Now, and there's two conducts you can do before you go to unsportsmanlike. First thing is just conduct, take the ball away from them if they're in possession. Then you can do the flag for 30-second conduct, and then you go to unsportsmanlike. But if you're going to give a coach an unsportsmanlike, make sure that they are aware that anybody else, because you can't go backwards. Once you hit unsportsmanlike, you can't go down. Make sure that he is totally aware that anybody on that bench that gets an unsportsmanlike, that coach is gone. Because it's always on the head coach. So,
yes.
But you make them brutally aware. Here's where we're at. So
perfect. So before we continue, the phrase today that you will send your local assigner to make sure that you have attended this session is WILOA 2025 session 1. Okay. WILOA 2025 session 1. You have to send that phrase to your local assigner, whether it be me in Madison, Randy in Milwaukee, or Nick in northern Wisconsin, where they may or may not have electricity. Okay. You have to send that to make sure that you've attended this session. Okay. So WILOA 2025 session 1. Okay. So the next thing that we will talk about, the next technical foul is stalling. Okay. Very rarely will you see this at the youth level, so we're not going to go too far into this. We'll talk about this at field training. But when a team has possession of the ball and is not attacking the goal, okay, you have to figure out whether it's, an actual legitimate lacrosse reason where they're trying to figure out whether you're in a man-to-man defense and you switch to a zone and they're trying to figure out the skip to get the shot through the zone. Like, there's a lot of things at the upper levels that happen, but at the lower levels of lacrosse, at 12U specifically, where we start to do advancement counts, okay? At the last 2 minutes of the game, if a team is winning by 3 or less goals, once they get the ball into their offensive zone, okay, they have to keep that ball in there. Again, this is the last 2 minutes of a game. Depending on where you're officiating, it could be 3 or 5 goal differences. Okay. The team, once they get a touch or get it into their offensive zone, they have to keep it there. Otherwise, it's just a turnover. It's just a technical foul. And we'll go into great detail about that at field training. Okay. So that ends technical fouls and today's session. But next session, we're coming right out of the gates with personal fouls. Okay. And then the rest of the time is going to be mechanics, which you'll get on the field training, but we got to talk about mechanics. And we'll talk about how to access the USA Lacrosse tests and how to access Arbiter, the assigning software. So y'all have an assignment before next week. A couple of them. Make sure your USA Lacrosse account lists you as official. If you're a high school age player, you're going to have to do that. Call USA Lacrosse. Okay. Number 2, send the today's training phrase, WILOA 2025 session 1, to your local assigner. This is also a good way to establish communication with your local assigner, who will give you games, who will help you make money, who, there's a Switch 2 coming out, right? For those of you who don't do Xbox, save up some cash to do that, or help your parents pay for college or trade school. Okay, guys, fantastic questions today. Keep up the good work. This is going to be recorded. Please go back and watch it again. If you have questions, reach out to us. Otherwise, we'll see you at 11:30 again without any technical hiccups from my part, but mostly Don's part. Just kidding, Don. And we'll get through this, and then we'll field training, and you'll be getting games. All right. See everyone next week.
Yep. Good job, Jeremy.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Oh, great job for you guys.
Mason Williams, I need your email address before you leave.